Wow! So today is the day. This has been really, really exciting for me. Today I'm sitting down with a newfound friend, the amazing Leo Lourdes. I hope I pronounced your surname correctly. If I did,
Spanish way.
how is it?
The Spanish way is Lourdes,
Lourdes.
way is Lord,
Lourdes?
and
Okay.
English way is Lords with an S.
Ah, okay. Well, I guess I gave you a whole another way to pronounce it, Dave, but it's so wonderful to have you here with us. You walked into my class just a few weeks ago, and since then, every single time I see you, my whole world gets a little bit bigger. But for listeners out there, I am going to read up your beautiful bio, Leo. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. This is you. So, Leo Lourdes is a globally renowned yoga master and a transformational coach who has committed his life to helping clients improve their well being in their private and professional lives. As the creator of Brahma Yoga and a wellness entrepreneur, he has taught, shared wisdom with, and coached more than 40,000 people globally, including Elle Macpherson, Donna Karan, Dua Lipa, Helena Bonham Carter, and Oprah Winfrey. At the age of 22, he was the youngest consultant on London's prestigious Harley Street. He's a motivational speaker and a personal coach for business leaders. He's also been a consultant for organizations such as Accenture, Unilever, Disney, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, and Tottenham's Hotspur Football Club, as well as the yoga master for Blackstone, an investment company. He has an avid interest in the ecology and biodiversity of the planet, and he spends his time in East Africa each year helping protect endangered wildlife and the rights of indigenous people. He also supports an orphanage in the Himalayas that looks after more than 40 children. In addition to running yoga retreats and wellness festivals globally, he's passionate about songwriting, producing music, climbing mountains, and walking his beautiful beagle Lamu. Welcome to the podcast, Leo. It's a joy to have you. Thank you, thank you.
It's really funny when you hear your own biography. You feel it's kind of strange. You feel a bit embarrassed. It's like, oh my God, this is me. Oh my God, what do I say now? So yeah, that is me. But yeah, it's really funny to hear it.
I so get it. And you know what? That's why very often with my guests, I always ask if I can read out the long version because honestly, everyone has the same reaction as you just did. Everyone is like, oh, wow, it sounds cool. Is that me? Like, right. It is funny to hear about yourself in third person, but I think it's also, like I said just before we came online, like you really have walked the walk. You continue to walk the walk. You're not just doing the talk. And I think it's so important when I personally meet these people like yourself that genuinely, teachers, not preachers, but from lived experience, you're here sharing yourself so authentically. And
Yeah.
so on my side, that really, this has to be celebrated. So thank you for letting me read out your gorgeous bio, full version, not the the shortened version. And Leo, tell us a little bit. So where did you start out in life? As in, what country and what kind of family system, structure, beliefs were you born into? Let's go back to the beginning.
Sure. So I was born in Malaysia,
Mhm.
and I was there for 5 years of my life, and then I moved to London when I was 5 years old. My ethnicity, my dad is Indian, so he's from a place in South India called Pondicherry, which is very famous in the Life of Pi. It's where the Life of Pi is set, the book, and it's a French colony. This is why I have a French surname, Lourdes.
Lots.
So my dad is South Indian, and my mum, she's half Malaysian, half French. So I grew up in a very eclectic family. We would have on Monday we'd have a curry. On Tuesday we'd have noodles. On Wednesday we'd have French patisserie. So it was very eclectic. And I think some people might, on the outside, find it confusing, but it was just what it was. It's what I grew up with. Like a real embracing of my mixed ethnicity. And so I came here when I was 5 years old. So I was a baby, and lived in London all my life since then. And my family history in terms of spiritual beliefs, for example. So I was brought up Catholic. My family are Catholic. But within my family, we have Buddhists. We have, for example, my sister, her late husband was Muslim. And so her kids are Muslim. So every year, although we celebrate Christmas together, we celebrate Eid, we celebrate Ramadan. We do, even though we're Catholic, we still do the fasting with the family as well. So it's like the United Nations family. Everyone here, we have Caucasians, we have Indians, we have Black people, we have Filipino, we have French, we have Spanish, we have Mexican, we're so interbred. It's almost like we were the World Health Organization's project on the gene pool. They were like, how can we make as many cultures together to give the best of the genetics? And it's my family, that's the result. Literally, it should be World Health Organization, the Lourdes Foundation. But what that has resulted in, Josie, is it's resulted in a really beautiful appreciation for different cultures, for different experiences, for being able to relate to cultures and religions and spirituality and practices and behaviors and norms and traditions of different cultures, which has made from a very young age, made me very globally aware. It almost made me as a child be like, oh my God, I've got all this family from different countries. I need to visit all this family in these different countries. And I ended up so far I've visited over 80 countries in my travels. I haven't got family in all the 80 countries, but
Heads up.
that's with 80 people in those different countries. No, just kidding.
Okay, exactly.
Just kidding. A lot of those trips were work related. I lived, obviously till 5 years old in Malaysia, but then I lived in the UK, but I've also lived abroad in other countries. I'll probably talk about more of this later with you, but I lived on a private island in the Maldives for 3 years, which was wonderful. It was in a beautiful island in the South Atoll called Vilingili. And I was the yoga master there. So we built and designed a yoga studio in the island. And we would have people from our customer base coming for retreats, but also the hotel would receive customers and we would be the yoga master for them. And it was amazing. We were there for 3 years. And unfortunately, in the pandemic, the island closed. And then the hotel chain that was operating it, which is the wonderful Shangri-La, beautiful brand, they decided not to reopen the hotel and they put the island up for sale. So anyone watching has $50 million available. We can buy the island together and continue the yoga. So yeah, there's a lot of investors that are looking at the space, thinking about what to do next. It's a huge island. There are 120 villas there, all with their own swimming pool. And, you can imagine how big that is. So we were living there. And back then I was with my fiance and she would spend 3 months there. Then we would both spend 3 months together there. Then she would come back to London and I would stay there for 3 months. And then we would send a teacher for 3 months. So throughout the year, we had a constant flow of yogi practitioners and guests coming. And I had at the same time concurrently had a studio in the Shard, and I also had a studio in Grosvenor Square in Mayfair. So we couldn't be in the island forever. We had to come back because of business operations as well. But yes, I've lived in Maldives, which was wonderful. I also lived in Thailand for a while, which I enjoyed, and I used to live there 3 months at a time with my fiance, and that was ex-fiance, by the way. So like for me, the world is this big, beautiful place of all the people that you've not met yet, and I'm insatiably still, after this long on planet Earth, curious.
Right. Oh, I love that. Let's take a breath. And you also, for listeners out there, if you can't, if you're not watching on YouTube, Leo, you're literally sitting in front of so many amazing books I can see behind you. So you're there like, you're already representing global different wisdom, different traditions with your family, your upbringing, but then you've also got all of like the wisdom behind you, like these wings. Let's take you back in time a little bit. So you arrived to London. What's one of your earliest memories of arriving here? Early memories, just like thinking about it now.
So in Malaysia, they have roses, the flower, the rose, but they're very small because of the humidity and the temperature and so on. For some reason, the roses there just stay very small. They're very strong in smell. They do smell wonderful, but they're very small. But I remember one of my first memories when I was 5 years old, and I was going to my is it preschool or the kind of I don't even know what it's called, but you go and you have to hold the other kids' hands, and the teachers hold your hand.
Hmm.
And we went where our school was. There was a walk through a park to the library, and every week the teachers would take us, all these little kids holding hands together. We'd walk from the school through the park to the library, and we'd spend maybe 2 hours there. And once my earliest memories was being in the UK, and first of all, like, oh my God, it's so frigging cold.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, like coming from paradise where we had my family were quite wealthy in Malaysia. And my father sold all the properties in Malaysia to fund him becoming a barrister. So
Mm.
I came to the UK because my father was a national footballer for Malaysia, and he realized that he could not be a national footballer forever.
Mm.
He was very close to the mayor of Malaysia, or sorry, one of the towns in Malaysia. And the mayor said to him, "You should become a lawyer because as a footballer, you're limited. You've only got till 35 years of age, you can play. You have 4 children, it's going to be very difficult to support them. So why didn't you become a barrister?" So my father decided to sell all our homes. So we had homes all across Malaysia. He sold them to get the money so we could then migrate to the UK. So I first of all was really pretty annoyed at my dad because in Malaysia I'd run out of my house on the beach. I would go into the water. I would play with my friends. I used to have a nanny that cooked me food. It was the most amazing life, amazing life. And then my dad sells all the properties, and we're literally moved to London, and we don't have the budget for a house or a flat. We're all sharing one room
Oh my God.
in a shared flat to begin,
Wow.
because the currency, Josie, was £1 is 6 Malaysian ringgit. So the money burns like fire. Does that make sense? So you could have you we had a really extraordinary luxurious life in Malaysia, but my father was clever. He was like, you can't spend all the money now. If we get a house in London, the money will go. I'm not working. My wife is not working. We will not have any savings. So my father was pragmatic, I guess, but he put us in all one big room in a house. Um, it was a man that had a 2 bedroom house, and then we had one room. So there were 6 of us: my mom, my dad, and me and my 3 sisters sharing a room. And I remember being really upset with my father. Like, what? At 5, I was like, I already knew this is not cool. Deep in my heart, I knew. Like, I went from this beautiful place where I have a beach house, run out of the house into the ocean, have a nanny that would cook me any food I want. And now I'm living in a 1 bedroom place with 3 mother sisters. I don't, we're all sharing in one room.
Hmm.
I remember, I don't want to call it resentment because that's a very strong emotion. And at that age of 5, you don't have the linguistic capability to understand words so far, but you still have feelings. You still can go, I don't like this.
Right.
I was like, I don't like this. I'm in this cold country. I'm sharing with my sisters. I miss my nanny. There's no more beach. Like, I'm in this shared room in this house with my mom and dad, and like we all sleeping everywhere. I remember feeling like, and then amidst all this uncertainty and um, you know, fear a bit, like about what my life was. I remember it was summer, one summer, and we were walking from the school to the library for our weekly visit. And I was holding on to these 2 children's hands. I still remember it was like a Chinese kid and it was a British kid, and we were holding hands really tightly. And I broke the chain. I broke the chain. Yes, I broke the chain. I actually stopped the entourage moving because I literally saw the biggest rose I've ever seen in my life. the biggest rose. I literally stopped. I looked at this rose and I planted my face in this rose. And I took a deep inhalation. I know, Josie, how much you love scents. If anyone's been to Josie's classes, she's always walking around spraying things like, like different smells and everything. She's very big into sensory experiences. And here was one of my earliest sensory experiences of putting my face into this big rose and breaking the chain. And my teacher was like, come on, and I was like, no, I'm going to stay here because I love the rose. And at that point, really, Josie, in my own way, I fell in love with London.
Hmm.
Beyond the seasons, beyond the difficulty, the financial difficulties my family initially, shush, kids, enough. Beyond the financial problems that I had experienced, my family had experienced. Okay, that's my beagle. He'll
It's
come.
all right.
Okay, cool. Okay, this is another dog. Yeah, they'll be vocal for a bit, then they'll calm down. So it was amidst the kind of problems of finance and all these things. I was boys, come down, come down. I'm on a podcast. This is not cool. I know your readers and your viewers probably love dogs, but you have to be assertive with them, otherwise they take advantage of you. And I have a beagle that's very vocal, and he's just woken up after his nap. And anyhow, yeah. So it was this feeling of like a feeling of liberation amidst the hardship, and we had a lot of hardship growing up. I mean, if you don't know the rules, if you're an international student back then, you couldn't work.
Hmm.
My father had to go for his studies, but my mum had to work. My mum, she's only been a housewife. She never had money. Does that make sense?
Totally. And can I just ask, if you feel happy to share, what kind of timeline are we in? Because, I came to London in early 2000, and even just in the last, 26 years or so, it's changed so much. So are we pre 2000? Are we in the 90s?
Yeah,
Just
with the 90s, with the 90s. Yeah, naughty.
wow.
And so mum had always been like very good as a mother, but she had never worked in a job. She never really had a job because she married young with my father. She started having children very young with my father. So it was like she never worked. And so she used to have these big arguments with my father about working. And he'd be like, no, 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 we come from Malaysia. I'm your husband. I'm not going to fail you. So real machismo. Like, I don't want my wife to work. My mom was like, there's no food in the fridge. We need to do something. And my father was really difficult. He would literally say to mom, I don't want you to work. What will your family say? They would say, I failed you. Please don't work. And my mum, she actually kind of went against my father. So what she did was, I remember this, back then you had the computers, and Word used to be blue with white writing. So this is before, the times we live in now where Microsoft Word is really advanced. And my mom was there and she was trying to do a CV, but she didn't have enough experience. So she was like, she filled half the page, but she really wanted to have a full page CV. So she said to my older sister, who was probably like only 12 or something at that time, she said to my older sister, what do I do? And my older sister says, Mum, make the writing bigger.
Clever.
So they copied half the page and made it like 20 point fonts, like, shouting. And out. So my mom had a one-page CV, but it didn't matter. It gave her the confidence. Like, I mean, if you think about it now, it's kind of laughable. Like you're printing a CV that the writing is so large, but it made my mother feel confident that she had a one-page CV, and she printed them out with our printer. And what she did was she went out and she went to all the shops, and she was right. 1 second, Josie. Okay.
Yeah, so listeners out there, while we wait, the gorgeous Leo is also very much loving animals like I myself am. So he's got a few dogs today. So while he settles himself down and the dogs settle down, just a little heads up that a lover of the world and also a lover of animals.
Yes.
Yay, right? Ahimsa. You can't
What
have.
happened was one of the dogs went towards Lamu's uneaten food stash. So he was like being guarding, he was resource guarding the food. But it's okay now. It's a little bit of a skirmish. Everyone's friends. That's what I love about dogs. They argue, then they sniff each other's butts, and everything is fine.
Right.
Imagine if we dealt like that with politics. Imagine if, Trump and the people from Iran would just, shake each other's hands and sniff each other's butts and let it be. Dogs solve it so simply. But actually, there's a reason. I know it's a bit of a detraction. There's a reason they do that. Is because apparently they can smell all the health information of another dog by sniffing there. So that there's actually a biological reason they do that.
Well, right. Which, and again, and I'm just going to like step in here because it's true. I do love, I mean, all senses, but especially the sense of scent.
Yeah.
And not only am I highly sensitive to amazing smells, but also I can smell if someone is becoming sick. So, but it's kind of annoying for me because it's not very pleasant at times. But for instance, with my partner, I always know. I'm always like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "I'm fine." I'm like, "I think you're 2 days away from getting sick," because the scent it changes very slightly, but it's something I can smell. So just wanted to share that with listeners out there. The sense of smell is absolutely incredible, and it bypasses this thing in the brain that's known as the thalamus, and the thalamus is the one that normally senses. It filters everything before you actually get the information in. So therefore, sense of scent, because it's one of the most ancient senses, it was necessary for us as human beings as well as animals to get the info straight away. So we would know if something was really dangerous before we even started to remember from different experiences, etc. So anyway, from that big detour, let's go back. Okay, so your mom is there with her CV in hand, the one page. But I do want to say, you know what? I love the ingenuity, and I love, so good. And I love your sister at 12 going like, it's so simple, and I know that, we can laugh at it now and this and that, but thank God she did it.
Yes.
Right? Like so often in life, we stop ourselves because we are like, oh, but that's not professional, or what will they think, or whatever. This is super clever. We are visual people. Most people won't even invite her into an interview unless she's, been okayed by the CV, right? This was her foot in the door. Fantastic.
What it showed, and it can teach us as well, is the power of belief. What it gave my mum a license to go out with her CV and go to different shops. And of course, we're talking about back in the 90s. So, race was a bit different then. If you came from another country, the people would judge you. They'd be like, can you work? Will you be customer friendly? So a lot of people used to take my mum's CV, but she knew they wouldn't call her back because she was from another country. But it never stopped her. She still went out. And one day, it was snowing. I remember this day very clearly. She came back home and she opened the door and, she went, actually, let me step back a bit before telling you about the snowy day. So because food was really bad, mum was very creative. So she used to go to the shop, to the value section or to the reduced section, and she used to buy everything really cheap. So she used to buy like chips and then dice them up and fry them and make, tamarind curry, and we used to have that together. She used to buy like a really cheap value burger meat and make them into meatballs, and we used to eat that. So she was very, very clever, but it was very basic food, but she used to make it last for a long time. So she'd cook a stew on the day one, and we'd have a big stew. And then day two, she'd add more curry powder to it and make it into a curry. And day three, when there was not much curry left, she'd fry rice and make it into a biryani. So it'd be 3 days food with 1 day's master plan. So she was doing all this stuff, but as kids, you're like, oh, why can't we just have burger and chips like the other kids? Why do we have to have burger curry? Like, which other kid in the school has burger curry? And we used to as kids laugh about it. Oh, burger curry again.
Oh, I love it. Oh my God, I love your mom. How wonderful. And actually, personal note. I basically cook everything in one pot, and my one pot, my cauldron, we always call it, refer to it as the cauldron. It usually it lasts and it changes its life through the slightly different flavor. One day we are more curry based, and then the next day a bit of Italian spices and a bit more, vegetables on top. And then after 3 days, Carl my fiance is like, is anything left from day one? Like, is it time to like throw that cauldron out? So I'm sitting here, going, I would love to meet your mom. She sounds absolutely wonderful.
Mom's awesome. I mean, mom single-handedly as an entrepreneur, all of my creativity comes from my mum. My ambition comes from my father, definitely from my father. My creativity comes from my mum, 100%. So here she was on this snowy day. The door opens and literally snow's flooding in. It's like mum's a figure there, and she says, "I've got a job." And I remember saying, "No more burger curry." And she got a job in a laundrette, washing clothes. So it was a job. But my father was very angry. He was like, "You come from a good family. How can you be washing other people's clothes? This is really embarrassing. We can't do this. Your family will be very upset with us. Please don't do this job. I beg you." And they have this big argument. My mum, like a matriarch, because she knows she has to feed her kids. She's like, said to my dad, "No." She says, "You focus on your studying because I'll be earning money. You will not worry about food. You can study better and you'll one day make a lot of money." Right? So she was like, she wanted my dad to focus on his law degree while she looked after the house, which is what mothers do. The truth is, in any family, mothers are the ones that should control the finances. The father might bring the money in, but the mother is the one that really knows how to spend on the food, the things you need in a household. So my mum, she got a job in a laundrette, so she suddenly had more money. And I still remember, this is the days before mobile phones, Josie. The days where we had landlines.
Yes.
And my mum used to call us and the home phone ring and says, "Okay, I'm finishing work now. I'm going to the supermarket. And then at this time, I want you all to meet me at the bottom of the road to help me carry the bags of food back in." So you just had to trust. It was no such thing as SMS, WhatsApp updates. There's no live locations. It was just like landline, be ready. We're watching the clock, and then we run down the hill. Mum would have all these big bags she's carrying. We'd help her carry the bags. And literally, when we open the bags, I literally would have a feast, croissants, like yogurt. Oh my God, biscuits. Oh my God, McCoy's chips. It was like I would be like in a food coma. My mum brought us abundance, and that continued for a while she worked. Then my father finished his degree, and he was able to work. And then my father started to do work with solicitors, so he would get legal cases. And back then, he'd get a check payment, for example, for work. And every time he'd get a check payment, he would come back and he'd say, "The check is cleared." It would be like, "The check is cleared." Everybody would be, you didn't even know what a check was. We were like, "The check is cleared." And he was like, "Right, come on, all of you. We're going to go on a Chinese restaurant." And he would second-hand Ford Cortina car, and we'd all bundle into this car. He'd drive us to this restaurant, and my dad simply would order everything in the menu. And all the food would come, and we'd be eating all this Malaysian Chinese food, remembering the old days of Malaysia. And my father, I always remember, he hardly ate, but he used to sit there with such pride watching us because he realized that, his hard work was paying off. And after he started to become successful, then eventually what happened, he turned the table around and he said to my mother, "I want you to have an education." So my mother went to study psychology and she became a psychology graduate whilst my father funded her. So my mum was able to enter education and, and learn amazing things about psychology and this was like a gift my father gave back to my mother because she supported him through the years. So it was really interesting. So growing up as a child, we had poverty. There were times you would go to bed hungry, but I always remember that feeling of going to the restaurant. I always remember that feeling of running down the hill and holding the bags of food and the abundance. And I think this is why all the countries south of the equator, who are technically poorer than the north of the world, This is why all those cultures have the best food, the best dish. You're going to taste the most delicious. Okay, you can go and have your goulash in Germany, which is hardly any taste, or you can have like like Thai red curry or something. And the cultures in the south of the equator, they've learned to really use food as a way to celebrate because they don't have other. Their wealth is not as big in other ways. They celebrate through food.
100%. And they also have, I mean, you have so much more sun in a lot of countries, right? So even just a tomato tastes incredible, like you have an abundance of fruits and vegetables, right? You are living with the land, off the land. You have to, right?
Yeah.
So that is absolutely true. Oh, I love all of this. I want to ask you, so if we go back in time and let's say at this point, let's say you're, maybe 12, 13. What did you dream of? I don't know if you were someone who were growing up and you were thinking, oh, I'm going to be this thing when I grow up, or it was more oh, I would like to have good friends and travel. Or I don't know, what were your dreams when you were like maybe 12, 13? Because
Uh,
that's a pivotal point in time, when we're going from into teenage years. We're not quite an adult and we're also not quite a child. So around that time.
I was dreaming of getting laid.
Okay, I was not expecting that.
And I'll tell you a funny story. And do you know what? I tell you this funny story, and I've never told this story ever before publicly. And I'm literally, Josie, on your podcast, putting my entire reputation online here. All that biography you read before is going to disintegrate with the shame I'm going to bring upon myself by sharing this. But I believe in releasing, and I believe in sharing funny things.
Please do.
Okay, so I was obviously very curious at that age, and I was like, I wonder what sex is, and I wonder, because you hear when you're 12, 13, you hear other kids talk about it, and they really don't know what they're talking about. And this was back before you had Google and pornography and online, and now children sadly can access this content very easily. This was before that time. Does that make sense? It was like, I wouldn't say pre-internet, but it was a time where you, as a child, you'd be curious, but you could only hear about these things through other children. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
So I used to go to this. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm sharing this. I'm going to share it. And my mom is probably going to watch this podcast and she's going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe, Leo, you ever told this story. But anyway, I'm going to tell it. So there was a newsagent local to us, not that local, but on the same road, but it was maybe a 20-minute walk from our road to my house. And by this time, my dad had made more money. So we moved into a nice apartment where we all had a bedroom and it was better, so it was like, things were getting better. And in this newsagent, I used to go in there and I used to buy my crisps or my chocolates or my, my soda, whatever. But every time I go in, I'd always look up at the top shelf because at the top shelf is where you have all the adult magazines. And I used to look at the adult magazines and go, oh my God, I really, really want to look at it. But of course I couldn't buy it. Because the lady in the shop, she's a very strict Indian lady, she's always looking at the kids coming in the shop. So there's more than two children. She goes, please get out, get out, get out. Only two children at one time in the newsagents. So she's a very tough lady. So I knew that I could never just go in, hey, can I buy this copy of Penthouse? She's like, you're 12. No. So one day I went into the shop and I said, do you have this type of chocolate? And she says, I don't know. Let me check in the back. She went into the back. I can't believe I did this. I went to the top shelf and I grabbed the magazine and I put it into my jacket. And I literally held it tight. And she came outside and she goes, no, we don't have this chocolate. Sorry. I said, okay, thank you, Auntie. Bye. And I left. Shush. I left. Anyway, I was running down the road and I felt like, that I'd done something wrong because it was wrong because I'm stealing something. I know that. So I'm old enough to know it's wrong, but I'm curious enough to be excited at the same time. Like, what am I going to see inside this magazine? So I arrived in the house, I open the keys, I go in the house, go to my bedroom, and then my bedroom's upstairs, and I'm in the bedroom, and literally I look at the magazine and I'm like, oh my God, this is what it's about. I was like so shocked. I was excited. I was happy. I felt mischievous. I felt all these things. And then I heard the doorbell ring. And the doorbell rang. And then my mum opened the door and I came outside my bedroom to listen. And it was the lady from the newsagents.
Oh my God.
She She followed she followed me all the way back to my house. She had no idea where I lived, but she followed me after I left the shop. Ray, come down, darling. She followed me after I came back from the shop, and she said to my mom, "I'm sorry, but your son has stolen an adult magazine from the shop." And my mom said, "I'm so sorry. This are you sure it's my son?" And she's like, "Yes, it's sure. We have it on the camera." And my mum was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And my mum then said, "How much was the magazine?" And the lady said, "It's this much." And she says, "He's just a boy. He's probably just curious. Let me pay you for the magazine. And can I give you something extra because you walked all the way here?" And the lady says, "No, no, no, madam. Please just pay for the magazine." And my mum paid for the magazine. And do you know what? My mum never mentioned anything to me.
Oh,
She
wow.
never mentioned anything to me. And as an adult, once we talked about it, I said, my mum once told me, I said to my mum, there was a time when I was a child and you did this. And she said, at that point I was studying developmental psychology and I was like, my son is curious. It's natural to be curious. And I just didn't want you to feel any shame about it. So I never mentioned it to you. And I was like, Mum, you're an angel. Because she knew that I was curious. Whereas another mum would have slapped me around the face, or another mum would have been like, "You're a thief." Another mum would be like, "Worst case scenario, you're a pervert." But my mum was just like, "No, my son is curious." So although I had this poverty growing up, I also had this great sense of freedom that I could be or do anything I wanted to be. And I always just wanted to be able to be wealthy and look after my family. And so we went through poverty, but in my 20s, I became a millionaire. So I worked really hard and I became a millionaire through my businesses. And unfortunately, I lost my money through the pandemic, like many business people did. So I lost my studio in the Shard. I lost my private island studio in the Maldives. I lost my studio in Grosvenor Square in Mayfair, and I lost all of it. So I went from great wealth to just having nothing, but I could cope with it because I had nothing as a child. So having nothing as an adult didn't feel as bad. Does that make sense? I've been here before. I know I have to watch my eating. I know I can't buy the best things, but when I was making the wealth, it was the dream that was growing me. I was never ever really looking at the account going, "Oh wow, I am a millionaire." I was looking at the account saying, "How can I grow it? How can I create more jobs for people?" At one point, my company hired about 10 people and they were being paid salaries and they could live their lives because I created a format for them to have abundance in their life. And for me, that created excitement in me. Like, I can create this for other people and I'm responsible for them. So I need to keep growing and growing. And the side thing was, okay, you made money. Does that make sense? So it
Yeah,
was
absolutely. Of
about people.
course. Oh, 100%. So tell me, so okay, you had the you had the experience at 12, 13, which thank you so much for sharing. I love the honesty. I really love that that's the first thing that popped into your head. You were like, actually, I did not want to be an astronaut. Thank you very much. It was not about this or that. I just wanted to know what this, amazing thing was all about. And I thank you so much for sharing that. I love that. I think it's super relatable. I'm not going to share my own experiences with that, but we are going to jump, fast and furiously forward. So, did what did you study? What were you thinking about your future? What and when did yoga come into the picture?
Sure. So I did a degree called design management, which
Okay.
is all about managing architects and managing designers and managing the design process. And I did that in Surrey University. And I loved it. I really loved it because it taught me about how to manage creative people and how to manage the design process. So technically, with a degree, once you finish, you could manage the design process for any design, for architecture, for fashion design, for graphic design. But all the way through it, I was really fascinated with psychology. So what I did was I started to study psychology also. I took it on as part of my degree because I was very fascinated by the human mind, which I am still to this day very fascinated by. And I was able to do that. And when I finished, I was like, you know what? I don't think I really want to manage designers. I want to create things. I want to create my own company. I want to create things that I own. I want to create products. I don't want to just be like a manager of the process. I want to be a creator. I really felt in my fingers, in my bones that I wanted to create. So at the age of 21, I formed my first company. I met an older lady that was in her 40s, and she was a psychologist. And she and I met and we connected. And I essentially pitched to her that we should have a business together. Let's create something together, and 50-50, I'll work hard, you work hard, we can have a psychology practice. And my first business was called Future Mind. And
Lovely.
um, I love Future Mind because the word future and mind were put together. And when you put the words together, you also have the word remind.
Mhm.
Future Mind, remind. So I really like that. The word, the idea just came to me one day. I said to this lady, we should have a company called Future Mind, and we should open and see psychology clients. And I've got the psychology experience. You're a therapist. You're older. We can make it work. And so we did. She took a risk, and she had more funding. I had no money. I just had ambition and a lot of passion.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know, maybe some people might still describe me as passionate now, but I'm a pale version of when I was 21. Literally, I felt I could do anything. Does that make sense? I do everything. So when we opened up, we decided to open up in Harley Street. So we didn't choose just some random location because the rooms were cheap. We went to the most expensive real estate where you have the best doctors, the best psychology practitioners, the best consultants in this road called Harley Street. And not just Harley Street, number 10 Harley Street. Forget 10.
Wow.
10 Harley Street is the fulcrum of power for psychologists, for doctors, and literally has the best people in the world. So you have a heart issue, you have a psychological problem, whatever. If you went to number 10 Harley Street, you're literally seeing the best people who also charge very high rates. So we took a risk. We opened up in Harley Street, and we opened up, and instead of charging really cheap because we were new, we charged really high prices, and we started to get clients, and it was very busy. And then we had more psychologists join, and we did that for about 7 to 8 years. And then we decided to get rid of that company because she was older, and I was like, okay, I've done this for a while now, but it's time to pass it on to someone else. And so someone else took over Future Mind, and now it's another owner. But it gave me a bit of financial freedom, a bit of freedom after running that company. And then, of course, there's that very inconvenient four-letter word. And it's not the four-letter word you think when you get angry and you say, oh, the four-letter word. The four-letter word is called love. The four-letter word, in one of my songs, Curves, I write, love is a four-letter word. And I really mean that because it can be sometimes, oh my God, that thing. And I fell in love. I was going to a beautiful gym called Third Space, which is still open now. And back then they only had one location, and now they have like 8 or 10.
Yeah, they had the one in Soho.
Yes, that's where I began. That's
Right?
where,
I used to go there a lot. Oh, fun. Okay,
yeah,
another
yeah,
coincidence. Okay, cool.
amazing place. And I was one of the founding members at Third Space, and I used to go there, and I used to attend the yoga classes. And back then, only girls attended yoga. We're talking about 2000s, and go mid 2000s, late 2000s. Yoga wasn't popular with men, and that's one of the things I've done a lot. I've made a lot of men come into yoga, but it was literally I was the only guy in the room, and the personal trainers would be like, "Oh, there's yoga boy," and they'd kind of like jokingly mock me. Why can't you come and do boxing? Why can't you come and do the gym with us? Why don't you power lift? But instead, yoga boy's doing yoga. And then someone else is like, yoga boy's doing yoga because all the girls are there. And I'm like, no, yoga boy's doing yoga because he likes yoga. And in my psychology job, I used to be so stressed out that when I used to go on the mat on Third Space and I just used to do my yoga, it was almost like all the stress would just be lifted. and I would be like, oh, I feel just free. And yoga was just something that at that point, because I was so super young and very entrepreneurial and also had huge bills on my head. If every month, if we're not paying the bills, we're in trouble. And so I had a lot of pressure from a young age financially to be able to make my businesses work. So when I used to go to yoga, it used to be my escape. It used to be where it was a happy place that no one could touch me. I could have my own shavasana. And I was always known in third space for the guy that the cleaners would clean around.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care. I'm in shavasana. I'd stay in shavasana even after the class for 20 minutes. And the cleaner would come very quietly and, clean around me. And I'd roll the mat and then I'd go and have a shower and a steam. But yoga became like a beacon for me. By at that point, Josie, I never thought about it commercially. I never thought about it financially. I never at any point thought I'd become a yoga teacher.
Yeah.
It was like I'm enjoying yoga as a passion. Anyway, I had guest passes, and one of my best friends, she said to me, "Do you have a spare guest pass? Because I want to bring my cousin." And so she brings her cousin, and they're both in the yoga room. And to be honest, I think I'm still quite attractive, but I was super attractive in my 20s. Like people used to say he's like the Asian George Clooney. Like he has such a nice smile, he's so good looking, and I was very successful in my 20s with romance and dating. But here I was, and some of the girls used to fancy me, so they used to put the mat out for me. So I was like this yoga celebrity. I used to walk into the studio. Someone used to put a mat out for me. I'd go in the front, you know. So little did I know, but my future girlfriend was the cousin of my friend, and they were both in the room. And they came in and they were ready for yoga. The teacher had arrived, but I walk in late to my pre-laid out yoga mat in the front. I wave at the teacher, and actually my future girlfriend then told me once, I just thought you were like really embarrassing. Like, who's this guy? Like, who does he think he is walking in late to a class? Through the class, all I remember was looking through the mirror at how beautiful she was. And I just couldn't get my eyes off her. I was just like, I couldn't even concentrate. She was the most beautiful person I'd ever seen, like literally. But after the class finished, because I knew a few people, I didn't actually get to talk to her. I wanted to talk to her, but I was talking to people, and then my friend and her cousin, who's the girl I fancied, left, and they both waved, and I was like, your heart sinks. You're like, oh, I really wanted to talk to her. Damn, she was so pretty, and I wanted to introduce myself, and never got a chance. And then you just think, okay, life continues. You forget, right? Um, and this was really before the whole Tinder thing and the whole Hinge and the dating apps. This is where you met people in a pub or a club or through friends, social network. This was that time where real time dating was far more important than online swiping. Does that make sense? It wasn't dismissive. It was based on chemistry, attraction, opportunity. So your brain was not just going through a dopamine cycle of left or right. Your brain was able to drop the dopamine down to the heart, and you could feel your heart pumping with excitement, with joy. And do you know what? I wish some of the new generations would get a chance to do that. Turn the phone off and just go to a pub, go to a club, ask someone, for their number. Just forget the apps for a while because it was such a riveting feeling. So here I was in the gym, feeling like, oh, I've missed my opportunity. And then my friend had her birthday. And so I went to her birthday just a few weeks later. And so I was there and I had this big SLR camera. And I also did not know I'd become a photographer with photographing a big yoga best-selling book. I never knew all of that at this point. I just had an SLR camera. My friend said to me, would you mind taking pictures at my birthday? So it was in Clerkenwell, and I went to her party and I had my big SLR camera. And then I saw this girl again. And I was like, oh my God, she's here, she's here. I was so excited. And there was this Australian girl that fancied me. And she was kept talking to me, kept talking to me. And I kept thinking, I don't want this other girl to think that she's my girlfriend. Anyway, so I had this camera. And then there was this guy, because the girl I fancied is so attractive. Like the guys in the bar were all over her. She couldn't walk without a guy approaching her. Anyway, she was standing like about five, no, 5 meters ahead of me. She saw me, she smiled, and I smiled back. And then a guy went up to her and started to talk to her. And I could tell he was trying to chat her up and, talk to her. And she was being super polite. She faced him and she was listening to him. I could tell she wasn't attracted to him, but she's super polite. She wasn't blowing the guy off. Does that make sense? She gave the guy an opportunity. So what I did was I took my SLR camera, and I still have these pictures. I turned the flash on and I just took about 50 pictures. I flashed like Morse code. Like I literally took pictures, and she's there with this guy, and she's looking at me like, "What is this guy doing?" And I just kept taking pictures. And then after the guy left, we met later, and then she said, "So you have a lot of pictures of me." I said, "I'm sorry, it's just all I could do because that guy was clearly punching above his weight, and he was talking to you, and I had to take some pictures." And she's like, "Well, why are you taking so many pictures?" I'm like, "Because you're stunning, you're beautiful." And we connected, and we formed our relationship that same night, and we stayed together for 9 years, and she became my fiance. So when we were together in the early years, we used to go to a lot of yoga classes together. And I was more used to doing yoga, so and she was more of a novice in the beginning. And so I'd take her for yoga, we'd do yoga, we'd go for dinner. And then we one day just said, why don't we just do a teacher training? Why don't we do it like just to learn about yoga, just to become better at yoga? And we never thought we'd launch a company. But after we finished yoga, we launched our company, which was a very successful company. It was called Yoga Sphere, which is, I love the name. I love it so much. I still have sad feelings about it because I lost Yoga Sphere through the pandemic, and Yoga Sphere opened a huge journey, a successful company, meeting so many people, 40,000 yogis all around the world. Like, it was just a journey I will never forget. And I'm very indebted to karma and the sacred consciousness to have given me that chance to have been to share Yoga Sphere with Mandy. We both had the company together. And in fact, when I created the company with her, without her realizing, I put 100% shares in her name as a gift. So she owned the company, and then we drove the company into a multi-million-pound business. And one day the bank manager wrote, and she said, "Leo, what is this?" He's saying, "I own 100%." I said, "Yeah, I gave it as a gift." And then she cried and she said, "Oh my God, that's so beautiful, but I cannot accept it. You work so hard." So then we changed the shares, and it became 70% me, 30% her. And then we ran a successful company. But sadly, and this is beyond the remit of this conversation, but that relationship after 9 years reached its own natural end. And it coincided with us closing the company in the pandemic. So we had a chance to close it. And I was a creditor of the company. So I could inherit the database, but we would have to close it because we just didn't have the money to keep the centers open. There was no customers allowed. But every month we had 20,000, 30, 40,000 pounds worth of bills, and we couldn't pay it. And I was falling into debt, and I used my personal savings to try to save the company. But eventually we were just like, the relationship's over, and we also have to accept Yoga Sphere's over as well. And we decided to close it, and I closed my business. So that's how I got into yoga. It was love, because of love of someone, because of love of yoga, because I was a practitioner and I loved it, and I was able to experience it beautifully and create something, an adventure with someone I loved. And it was, and I don't think I could ever replicate it again. I don't think I could ever meet someone like, even if I'm currently single at the moment, so I'm not sure how your database are. Maybe some of them are single. I am actually available for dates, and I'm still a decent guy. So what I do is I do pay for dinner without expectations. But I don't think I could fall in love and repeat that story again. I think that was like something really special. And my future relationships will also be special, but not in the same way, because there's also some limitations, Josie. When you run a business with someone, you also have the financial pressures, and then you're running your relationships, and sometimes it can get entangled. So, we would disagree in the business sometimes. Then we'd come back home, and I'd be like, we'd have pasta, and I'd be like, the pasta's not cooked. And she'd be like, I thought you liked al dente. It's not cooked. But really, we were angry about business.
Yeah.
but came into a relationship. So I think that's something also for people to consider. If you are going to business with someone you love, it can be a great adventure, but it can also be a big restriction. It can also interrupt the relationship as well.
100%. And it's also that thing of, I mean, I can really resonate with that. I think I personally, I always had that dream. I guess because I did most of the things in my life, I did by myself. Like I went to the Royal Danish Ballet by myself. That meant I was there more than I saw my physical family. I left my country when I was 16 by myself. All of the different careers I've had here in London and globally, it's always been by myself. And so I've always had this kind of very romantic idea of like, oh, what if I met someone and they were as passionate about the same thing that I'm passionate about, and we can work together and we can do all this thing. And funnily enough, I had those experiences, but with women. So I would have best friends, and next thing you know, we were living together and we were working together, and I had those experiences. And I had a similar experience as you guys, where it's that thing of, the more intensity, of course, the more amazing it is, the more passion it is, the more it is, we're together 24/7 and we're into the same things and we're similar people and all of our values are similar. But at the same time, it also means that in daily life, you don't actually ever really have that space, right, to kind of find your own center, to remember that you are two different people, etc. I mean, obviously there's no easy way or one way of doing any relationships, whether it's business or personal or both, but I can definitely relate to that whole thing of, actually there's also, there's benefits to anything. There's also benefits to having a love with someone, but maybe your interests are different, or maybe you don't work together, right? But either way, we don't choose who we fall in love with, and in love you fell.
Exactly, and also I think, and you said thankfully, and Josie's enjoying my book at the moment, and I hope some of the readers will look it up. It's available in libraries as well, so it's called The World of Yoga. And you shared a quote from my book and on WhatsApp, which is amazing. I wanted to share it with the viewers now. It's saying, essentially, knowing the depths of your own heart is the greatest love affair you'll ever have. Do you remember that quote from the book?
Because look at this.
Yes, exactly. That's kind of saying what I said in my book. And I really believe that. I believe that actually, when you're having a relationship with someone, you're actually falling in love with your own heart. You're learning about the capacity, the breadth, the depth of your own heart. And this is why I guess you could say breakups are so difficult, because I believe, the more you love someone, you also build a propensity to hate them as well. So the more you love them, the more you can potentially hate them, because you've given so much of your vulnerability and you've opened your heart. And then suddenly, if they break it, you can even flip the other way. And I also believe that love and hate are equal in passion, just facing opposite directions, right? So the more you hate someone, you can also love them. You can love someone, you can also hate them. And I truly believe that when you love someone, your heart creates a memory of that. And the more you love yourself, the more you explore your own heart, even if you're on your own. So for all those single people out there that have had relationship problems or have had love and their heart's been broken, I'm going to tell you, it doesn't matter. Your heart is interested in the depth of your own discovery. So journal, read, fall in love with other people, understand your own heart, because the more you understand your own heart, the greatest love affair. You could even be in love with yourself. And I don't mean that in some narcissistic sense. I mean that as in a true thing. Like, if you love yourself like deeper, the type of partner you'll attract will be different. You're not going to attract some opportunist. You're not going to attract someone that's going to be not valuing you, because you're valuing your own heart, and you know what your own. And I know Josie and me talked about this at yoga once, about boundaries and thresholds. You'll know what your own boundaries are. You'll know what your own thresholds are, and you will take risks based on love. But the more you know your own heart, the more you'll be able to love deeply with someone else. So you'll attract a completely different type of partner.
Oh, I love this. And I just have to repeat what I think you said. Something
Yeah.
along the lines of, your heart is interested in the depth of your own discovery. How beautiful and how true is that, right? Your heart is interested in the depth of your own discovery. And exactly like you said, I mean, this is exactly like what all my three books are about. And it's not to highlight my own book, but it's just that this is another synchronicity that we have, right? It's called Fall in Love with You. They're a collection of channeled messages, as is my second book, Messages of Love. And again, none of this, and I'm just supporting, your life story, all of that, you know, we meet whoever we meet, and whoever we get the joy, the pain, the intensity, the excitement, all of it to be around. It really just teaches us about ourselves, right? It's an opportunity. So it's always the same thing, because just like anyone else, I've had incredible love stories, love affairs. I've had incredible heartbreak. As high as I can go, as low can I go to, right? But the point was always, just because that story has reached its ending, whether it was a chosen thing or something was taken away, whatever happens, once something was created in love, it never ceases to exist, because also once you have accessed that part of your own sensibility, you think it's about the other person. It was never about the other person. The other person helped you to see, feel what was already present within you. And so, right? And so that line that you just said, your heart is interested in the depth of your own discovery. I mean, it is the most accurate, beautiful, and transformative words I've heard in a long time.
Thank you, darling. And you know what? For me, it's the space we create between us. Whenever, there's a wonderful saying for people that believe if there's a higher consciousness looking after itself. It says, when more than one gather in my name, so whatever that name is, whether it's Buddha, whether it's Jesus, whether it's universal consciousness, whether it's God, whether it's Allah, whatever your label is, it's just a label. We call apple, in France, they call it pomme. We don't have world wars because we have a translation over the word called apple. So why do we have world wars over the translation of God? So that, I believe, when you connect with people that are like-minded, and for us, there's a beautiful journey we've created from yoga and from the book and from our conversations about our lives and our shares. And it's like, whenever I believe, when you state a kind of truth, you do it actually in collaboration. So although I may have given birth to those words, it was only given birth to those words because we were feeling a vibrational field that we're both in. And actually not just in, all the people that are going to watch this, that are inspired by this, that are going to, maybe they're kleptomaniacs, they might go and steal pornography just for the fun of it after this video. Maybe they might be inspired in that way. But like, it's because of the field that's generated, and then whatever comes from that is the creativity and the birth that comes forth. It's not about ownership. It's not about my words, your words. It's about us. And this is what I really feel that yoga brings. If you truly get into yoga, and can I just give a show of my book?
Yes, please.
This is my baby, A World of Yoga, which Josie has a copy of as well. And it's a beautiful book. Even if you don't buy it, you see it in a yoga studio. I give you permission to have a cup of herbal tea and sit through the book and just flick through it. And I guarantee you, I promise you this as the author, even if you read some of the affirmations, even if you look at the beauty of the pictures, it will transform your mood. It will transform your mood. And the book is a journey. The way I've created it, most people, they go through the book in one sitting. They don't read everything. They read some of the affirmations, they read through the pictures, but it's like a journey that you go through, and it's called A World of Yoga. And I feel that my gifts with my love of yoga has taken many forms. My love with my partner, my love of my clients, my creativity, creating studios, giving birth to them, and also losing them. It's okay. The fact I had no money, and I still launched a successful book, and which I did a lot of photography through the pandemic, because you were allowed, the government guidance was you could not travel for holidays, but you could travel for business. And so I was able to get my publisher to let me travel. And I was able to go to places like Masai Mara, where no tourists were there, just me and my guide. And I'd get out of the safari van, do a headstand by a frangipani tree or some tree, and then rush back in because he'd be like, no, there's some lions coming. So like it was a whole other world. Like I felt like, Adam, honestly, when I traveled through the pandemic and I was taking these pictures and I was like the only person there was no crowds, there was no public, just me and nature. And I could tune into my meditation and I would self-photograph as well. So I had a sensor camera, I'd set everything up. I literally set the camera up, run to the spot, do the yoga position, run back, check it, retake it. And I did all the pictures. Most of the pictures I did of myself was self-photographed. And I did this because I wanted to show the love of yoga. And I really believe, whether it's yoga or not, what I'm going to invite the listeners of this podcast to really consider is, what is your passion? What makes you excited? What turns you on? It might not be yoga. For Josie and me, it's definitely yoga and other things. I'm sure Josie's also a very amazing author and a very creative soul. But you've got to really think, you only get one chance to live your life as you. And in my book, I say, you only get one chance to live your life as you. And if you do it right, you don't need to do it again.
I had that one on my phone. Yeah, I had that one on my phone because out of your entire book, I read through it yesterday, and of course I couldn't read the whole thing, right? The last photo I took, because I photographed lots of the affirmations, and the last one I photographed was exactly that. You can only live once as yourself in this lifetime. If you live fully, once is enough.
Exactly. That's what I invite. And thank you for sharing that quote. And by the way, all of the writings in my book, I meditate like Josie does. Josie channels and she writes. I meditate and I say what words come and I put them in there. So I know there's lots of books where people say, this is what Buddha said, this is what Mother Teresa said, this is what Martin Luther King said. I'm like, it's okay, these people are saying things, but I've got so much to say. And I just want to say it. And I was like, I just made a rule to myself. I'm not going to quote anyone. I'm not going to quote Buddha. I'm not going to quote Mother Teresa. I'm not going to quote Martin Luther King. I'm just going to quote Leo Lourdes. And I just channeled the words that came through. And this is why I love about it, is that like Josie's taking pictures. I get people messaging me saying, oh my God, I'm in a library in Singapore and I found your book. It's amazing. Or someone else is like, I'm in Colorado skiing and I found this and I love your book. And I get all these people from around the world messaging me. And the thing I love the most, and I could probably create another book, just a book on all the pictures of my book on people's living rooms. Literally, Josie sent a beautiful picture with the doggy, with my book. Another person sent a picture with their baby holding onto my book. Another person's taking my book all around the world, showing it in different locations. So for me, it's the journey of sharing. And I really implore and I invite your listeners to really say, you know what? I'm sorry to swear, Josie. Fuck this. I get one life.
Oh my God, please, we can do it again. Absolutely, fuck yes. We have one life. We cannot sit around and wait for our own permission, someone else's permissions, to actually live in a way that feels truly you.
Yes.
And I think, because actually going back, you and I really haven't known each other for that long, and you chose to share about your book with me. You came to the oracle card and yoga class, and you picked your 4 cards, and I mentioned we were going back in time for each year, and going back those 4 or 5 years, you opened that first card and you said, that was the year I wrote my book. That was the year I decided to write my book. You could have chosen to not share any of that with me, right? And then, and then subsequently, every time we meet up, you share more of your life, I share more of my life. But these are all choices, right? So we can choose to live a very small, very sheltered life, or we can choose to take a chance, right? Like, look at what's happened. So you had, you shared that with me, shared about your life, your book, which is amazing. I shared it with a good client of mine that, obviously, hopefully already loves it. Like, everything is a rippling effect, and we fully, okay, we can't control or choose what happens to us, but we can always choose not only how we wish to respond, but also from where we're responding, right?
Yes. Right. It's a wonderful book, and I don't know if you've read it, Josie, and I don't know if any of your listeners have read it, but I read it years ago, and it really inspired me about law of attraction. It's a book called Ask and It's Given.
Yes, I have it.
In that book, Josie, they talk about fasting. They talk about what's called your emotional set point. What vibration are you in? So for your listeners, I would say always think about that. What vibration are you in? What are you creating? And be vocal. If you have a passion about something, don't shy back. Just be like, okay, I'm an amateur actor, or I'm a tryout stand-up comedian, or I'm a designer in the making. I'm a filmmaker at heart. Don't shy back. State the words, because when you state the words, it becomes the first part of truth. In my life, I've always shot, and this is because Josie and me are both Sagittarius in a big way. And I think this is very, and I'll be honest, I think it's quite a Sagittarian fire sign thing. But we shoot forward our arrow. We don't always know how we're going to get there. We don't always know what skills or whatever, but we shoot an arrow of desire. And then when we get that vision, the stuff happens that makes it possible to realize that dream.
100%.
What a lot of people don't do is they don't shoot that arrow forward. They don't make that kind of reclamation. They don't make that vocal. They don't say, I want to be this. Even if you dream about it secretly, dream about it, but write it down.
100%. And it's also because, like, again, if you're using that visual as with the bow and arrow, right? It's like, imagine, you're pulling back. Okay, that's the desire. The desire is starting to create tension, right? And you're leaning into the desire. So there's more and more and more and more pressure because you're like, oh my God, I gotta say it. I gotta do it, right? I gotta try it. But the thing is, it's like, at some point you have to try it. You have to let go of control, right? You have to release it. Otherwise you're in suspense and in pressure and in stress. And that energy is stagnant and it's blocking and it's stopping and it's actually hurting, right? So it's that thing of, okay, and I loved it. Leo and I are now like just like sharing with the world, but here we are. Like, honestly, I'm sure, Leo, yours is the same as me. Like, I have experienced, just like everyone else, huge amount of anxiety, huge amount of fear. It's not like I'm more courageous or Leo is more courageous or more confident, or no. All of that exists. I acknowledge it exists. You acknowledge it exists. But then we kind of go, fuck fear and let's try it anyway. Yes. Like,
Exactly. And I think also what you got to remember is once you let go, you've got to trust the law of attraction. You've got to trust the universe that it's conspiring with you. And I think what a lot of people do is they get the desire, the anticipation, then they release it. Then they're like, what's happening with it? Why is it not happening? Why is it not this? Right, have I done it wrong? Why are they not calling me back? Why is it not happening? And what they forget to do is you release it, but the universe is helping you make it happen. And what you've got to do is shut the fuck up and just notice who is that person in the coffee shop that you need to talk to that's going to give you. And this is what, for example, a very old book, but a beautiful book called The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield. It's a wonderful.
I have that one too.
Yeah, and he talks about Carl Jungian, a Jungian concept called synchronicity.
Yes.
But like, for example, I met Josie. I think it's divine how we've met. Josie's met other people. It's divine how we meet people. There is an energy network that connects you to like-minded people. So once you've shot forward your arrow of desire, you have to be in a state of awareness to notice the signs. Who am I meeting? What is happening? Why has that come through? What should I do next? Why am I watching that on TV? Why is that song keep playing in my head? And you have to notice the synchronicities and act on them and trust me and really trust me in my life. And I swear on my life on this, it works. Once your set point, emotional set point is right, your vibration is right, you attract the right people, the right situations, and all you have to do then is trust.
And like you said, since the beginning of our time together here today, and actually always, we have to find different ways that we can continue to fall in love with the everyday. So the energetic state, right? Before you're like, oh, I need to write that thing, or I need to like defend this, or I need to communicate that, or I need to whatever. The way that the easiest way, the easiest route, like the simplest way that I can express it myself is, continue to fall in love with that which makes you feel good. And it's just so simple, like you love dogs, I love dogs, like Buddha, my little dog that we look after, is, she gives me infinite joy, not just because she loves me, but because I love her. Being around her brings me into that state, right? Again, my flowers, hanging out with you. Like, there are so many joyful experiences in my life and things that I'm really passionate about. So yes, trust 100%, but also that easy way to kind of think, okay, well, I need to put my energy high. That doesn't mean we don't get sad and anxious and all the rest of the human being experience, but it means that we continue to seek experiences, places, people, music, books, whatever it is that just naturally through the experiencing of it. Same thing with your book, right? Like you said, your book it's a journey, but it's just an experience. I was experiencing your book. I was with you out in all the different places around the world when I was, looking through it yesterday, right? Like just through being with your book, it's naturally, it's not hard work. I don't sit there and go like, oh, I must go into a good energetic state. Right? It happens naturally. I don't doubt it. So like you said, there's ultimate trust because I didn't doubt that I wasn't going to feel good reading your book, right?
Yes, and it's about trust, and it was also about giving yourself permission, to feel what you're feeling. And I think, like for example, this book it's a wonderful achievement because it wasn't an easy book to do because I wasn't trained as a photographer. I didn't go to photography school. I had SLR cameras. I've always been naturally good at design because of my design management degree. I was always able to understand composition and all these kind of things. When I walk into an architectural building, I can see how the columns hold things up. My brain is able to look at the skeleton of design because I studied it for 3 years. But it kind of translated to psychology. I'm sorry, to photography. And what I was able to do, because my publisher, like you guys don't realize, this publisher is the Vogue of publishing. The best books on architecture, design, fashion is published by Rizzoli, and my book is published by Rizzoli, and it's distributed by Penguin Random House, which is the powerhouse.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
one of the best, the most successful publishers in the world, and they both believed in my idea and collaborated to make this possible. But then one thing it did was I was never when I had this weakness when I said yes, I shot the arrow and I was like, oh my god, like how do I make this camera work again? Like what are these settings? Should I use auto? Should I use flash? Ah! So one thing I always do is I'm never afraid of asking for help. So I contacted the publisher and I said, can you put me in touch with your top photographers? I'd love to have a Zoom call with them. Like, I want the best photographers that you've published with in fashion, the best from National Geographic, the best from, cultural heritage photography. And I'd love to get to know them. And they literally gave me the numbers of the top photographers in the world. And I literally became like a sponge. I'd spend time with the photographers in their studio, watching how they photograph fashion shoots. I'd go on site with National Geographic photographers and be like a student watching how they photograph cheetahs and elephants. And I became like a sponge because I wanted to absorb. And they all became like my best friends. They became like my grandparents, and some of them, they took photos of me and they contributed to that into the book as well. So I've got really top photographers that have also taken photographs in the book. And 5% of the book is done by top photographers, 95% is done by Leo Lourdes. And I'm not a top photographer, but when you look at the book, you don't look at it and go, oh, that's where Leo was trying. And that's the book is like consistently beautiful, right? So
Yeah,
every
absolutely.
photograph is stunning. So I was able to, all the photographers that took the book, they had the copy and they were like, Leo, you've done something extraordinary. You haven't had 20 years experience like us. You literally had months where you spent time with us and you were able to create something so beautiful. And like it's been described this way. Some people describe my yoga book as one of the most beautiful yoga books ever made. It's stunning. There's nothing else quite in the market. You've got some yoga retreats books and some other destination yoga books, which are also beautiful, but nothing captures asanas and the world in such a beautiful way. And I could only do that because I'm indebted to these people. I was just a humble novice student that spent time amongst brilliant people, absorbed whatever they taught me. And when I was at the camera, they were all like there in spirit next to me as I took the pictures. And then I was able to create this beautiful book. So what I'm saying is to also to people is don't be afraid to ask for help. And don't be afraid to spend time with people that are better than you. Don't be an egotist. Don't be like, oh my God, they're so good. They make me feel inadequate. Or, oh, I don't feel good around that person because they're better at this. No. In many books, they talk about this. They call it the mastermind. You must surround yourself with people that are exceptional. And one thing I say to my clients, Josie, I want to share with you and your listeners as well, is with your emotions and your energy, when you are in the presence of what you can call low consciousness, so people that are negative or corrupt or just bad energy, then it's in your interest to hold your energy, to create boundaries and make sure you don't get pulled into the negativity and sucked into the vortex and just dwindle down. However, when you are in the company of higher energy, so I don't want to say gurus, but people that are highly intelligent, highly creative, highly spiritually awake people, then it's in your right to release your energy and absorb, because you can learn a lot from that higher state, and you can learn a lot. So when you're in low consciousness, you hold your energy, you do not merge with it. But when you're with higher consciousness, you merge with it because you're really downloading a lot of amazing stuff. And your duty is simply to know, when am I with better consciousness? When am I not with better consciousness? And I remember in class one day, Josie, I shared with you about the 4-letter word my guru taught me,
Yes.
4-letter sentence. I want to share this with the listeners as well. Don't be for something, don't be against something. Don't be for pro-Palestine, but against, trans rights. Don't be for veganism, but against, black people's rights. Don't be for or against anything, because when you for and against something, yes, you believe strongly about something and you should be passionate and you should fight for things you believe in 100%, because that's why the suffragettes did what they did and women have the rights they have now. That's why Dr. Martin Luther King did what he did and black people have their rights now. Right? This is because of what Jermaine Greer did, and this is what feminists have now. So the people that actually go forward and they take risks, they open up apertures that make it so possible for greater acceptance. So I'm not saying we shouldn't be for something, but don't be so angry about it. I'm for something, I'm against something. This means your energy is always like very like hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. So a guru in India taught me this. He said, when you come across something that's low energy or that you don't like, don't be against it. Because if you're against it, you're still drawing its energy into your sphere. You're still saying, I have a view about this, I don't like you, and I'm going to put energy into not liking you. I'm going to put energy into being angry with you. I'm going to put energy into cursing you. And that's still your energy going into something negative. He taught me something that really was beautiful, which I think your viewers would find very useful. He says, whenever you see something that has low energy, that's denser, that's darker, it might be your own emotions, it might be something someone says. And people say things all the time, and people say things they don't mean, and it can break your heart. Someone, you could be dressed up for a night out, and someone could be like, I don't think that dress fits you well because you might be a bit overweight, and that could break your confidence that night. But actually, the truth is that person never said that. You could have been dancing all night free, and you might have met 100 people because that person didn't say that. So people say things all the time, and also people say things they don't always mean, but it still breaks your heart. So you have to understand, sometimes, when people do bad things, they don't always do it intentionally. And we have to practice forgiveness so we can move on. But when these people do things that are negative, or it's denser or darker, all you do is you say this: I'm not that. I am not that. So you're just saying, I'm not that. You're not saying I'm against it. You're not saying you're for it. You're saying, I'm not that. It means you're saying you're not that energy. And you bless it. And that energy, that darkness, and I say this in my book somewhere, but I say, that darkness wants to realize itself through you, because darkness is still attracted to light. Darkness, you might not believe it, wants to become light. Even to this day, I promise you, if you believe some of the older religions, that Lucifer was one of the God's most famous, not famous, most loved angels. He fell from grace because he was jealous of God and he became Satan. To this day, if Lucifer went back to God and said, I'm sorry, I kind of like fucked up over the last few centuries.
It was one big misunderstanding.
Landing, I'm really sorry. I want to come back. I bet you universal consciousness will say, welcome. So you're around darkness. Sometimes this is what people don't realize. When you're on your spiritual path and you're doing well, you say, why am I attracting negativity? Because negativity wants to become light. It hangs on to it, but it clips at your heels. And you have to learn to say, I'm not that, because if you don't say it, it drags you down.
I really, really love this. And it's also, saying the same thing, but slightly different words, perhaps. It's just this thing that, again, what it does is it brings your energy back to you. So it's that thing of whatever it is you're thinking about, right? You consumed about, obsessing over, even if it's something that you dislike, but you can't stop thinking about it, talking about it, somehow being around it, right? You know, that being obsessive thinking. I'm sure we've all done it in different degrees, right? If it's something that you dislike, you're literally pouring your energy into it. You are surrounding it with your energy, right? So it's that by saying those words, I am not that, you're just reminding yourself to bring your energy back into yourself again, right? And the same thing with things that you love, experiences that you love. Of course, there can be times where it's beautiful to talk about it, obsessively think about all of that. But at the same time, if we continue to do that, then we continue to be excited about everything and everyone else that's outside of us, right? And that can make us feel great when the outer world, the external world seems to be responding in a way that makes us feel really good about ourselves, right? We're like, yay, my empty space is filled today. And then when the external dirt world, Sue is asking if I'm playing music. That was just my little voice. And then when the external world seems to be behaving in a way that we perceive, interpret, as a way, as a declaration, confirmation that somehow we are not enough, somehow we didn't whatever enough, then it's that same thing, right? Then we constantly have our energy and our eyes everywhere outside of ourselves. So by saying those words, we are just returning back home to ourselves. And I really love that, Leo. That's, so simple.
It's mine, it's my guru's, and he shared it with me, so I'm sharing it with you, and I'm sure some of you would share it with other people. And that's how it works. You share it, you pass it on.
100%.
But remember also, you can say I'm not that to things you love.
That was my point, right? Exactly.
Otherwise you have attachment.
That's exactly yeah.
I need that. I need to feel good, or I need to have that feeling. And nowadays we live in this world where we need that dopamine hit. Like we always need to feel excited and always need to feel brilliant and always need to feel the best. And I'm like, actually, no. A psychologically balanced person has a range of emotions. It has a range of emotions. So this kind of post-capitalist world we live in almost is built on this dopamine cycles. You know, these quick hits, quick hits, quick hits, quick hits. Whether someone's taking cocaine on a Saturday night or they're eating crisps and watching nighttime Netflix TVs, not going to bed, it really doesn't matter. It's the point that they're going for that quick fix. And what it does a disservice to you, because like sugar gives you that huge hit and then the huge drop. It's not authentic. True spiritual energy is more wholesome. Sometimes you go through things that are heartbreaking, but they are really good for you spiritually. They help you grow. They help you evolve.
I totally agree. And it's like, I love to relate everything to nature just because it simplifies everything for my brain. Also reminds me that we are nature. So, none of our plants, none of my plants at home, outside in nature, in the forest or in the parks, nothing blooms forever. And nature fully accepts, even stands tall in the dissolving process, none of my flowers are going like, well, Josie, I know I'm not going to be pretty forever, but I'll hang on to my youth, right?
Yes.
They don't start to cry when they start to get wrinkled and they're losing moisture, and one day they will fall out and apart, and also the scent will no longer be sweet and beautiful. It'll be kind of yucky, but that's part of life. And that everything that this beautiful bunch is doing right now, that will fertilize my ground, the soil, right? Like you said, the greatest heartache can be your greatest, heart blossoming renewal. Through the processing of the dissolving and the allowing, we're fertilizing the ground. We are, that is part of the medicine. It's part of the wheel of life.
Yes.
And yeah.
I agree, and this is why my yoga is called Brahma Yoga,
Oh
because
yeah.
in Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. So Brahma is the creation force, Vishnu is preservation, and Shiva is the transmuter. And you have spring when things come into being. You have summer when things just are, all the fruits growing, all the deers have been born. Everything is like la la la, it's summer, right? And then autumn start to break down. And this is the process. And I think, and this is why Brahma Yoga, I respect that process. And the asanas and the mudras and the mantras in the book, there's 108 mantras that are based on, I was showing Josie the other day, based on the mala beads. So mala beads always have 108 beads, always 108. And the reason being is if you had one of the beads representing the moon, if you have 108 moons next to each other, that would be the exact distance precisely from planet Earth to the moon. If you had 108 suns next to each other in one row, that would be precisely the distance from planet Earth to the sun. And this is why malas have 108. In my book, I have 108 mantras in the book, which are a lot of them will carry the energy of what Josie and I conversation has today. Some of them people will read and they'll dismiss them. Some of you might disagree with them. Some of you will change your life, but they'll make an impact because they're designed to do that. Astrologically they're designed to help you go through your process, and ultimately you are always a process. You're not a noun. Your name is Josie. My name is Leo, but we're not a noun. We're a process. So you are constantly processing. Don't believe your name. Don't believe your sexuality. Don't believe your gender. Don't believe your race. Stop believing in it. Be like, I'm a process.
100%. And because again, that's the same thing about attachment, right? So it's that same thing, with the name or with our past or whatever it is, we can get so attached to, well, I am who I am today because, this was my past and this was this and that. And funnily enough, again, as we are changing and we are allowing ourselves to change and be curious about these changes, our past changes too, as does our future, right? And so we are always in movement, and everything in nature, again, is in movement. I heard this beautiful man one day, and he was talking about exactly the same thing as you just said. So he was like, most conflict in life, the wars we fight internally, the wars we find externally, they all come down to the fact that we are somehow attached to the wrong identity. We forgot that we are the universe. Not only that we are all one, but that we are nature, and nature's us, right?
Josie, we're always transiting.
That's it.
We're always processing. We're always moving. You're not still. In
That's
fact,
it.
science has proven now that whenever you access a memory, you change it.
Yeah, exactly.
So memories aren't static. And this is why
Yeah.
people, when they're 90, they go, oh, when I was a young person, I remember it this way. And you're like, no, that didn't quite happen that way. And because every time you access a memory, you create new neuroplasticity, which changes it, which means a wonderful thing. It means if you've gone through trauma, if your heart has been broken, if you've lost everything, it doesn't matter. Every time you access the memory, you can have a different relationship, a different meaning to that event.
100%.
That meaning. So if you were abused, if you were hurt, if someone broke your heart, if you lost everything, all those events, when you look at them with new frames of reference, you will change the dynamic.
100%.
Talking about containers, she talks about, like you have all this energy, but you have containers and you have rituals that you do. And what you need to do is whatever you're going through, you need to create a new ritual. So, okay, this happened to me, but could there be something good in it? Is there something in it that I don't see currently that is bringing goodness? Or I went through this and is this something that's made me stronger, or that it broke me, it's inoculated me? Like when you get sick and then your immune system gets stronger, has this terrible like spell of bad relationships improved my relationship immunity? Am I actually going to be better in relationships because of this? Like we questions. Instead, we go, oh no, someone's going to break my heart again, or oh no, I'm going to be heartbroken again, or I'm going to lose this again. Like we lose the purity of a child. Children fall down They cry, they get up and they don't stop walking.
Oh,
Saying,
I use that example all the time. I love that.
and why, it's, as adults, we don't function the same way. We need to, frankly, we need to be taught to be more childlike,
100%.
more childlike.
And every day start a new game. Every day is a new play day.
Exactly. Everything is a play date, and you might make an enemy in the sandpit, but you shake hands and especially you look at little boys. They do this a lot. They might have a little fight, but then eventually they're playing football again. There's no resentment. They're just like, hey, done. And but unlike us as adults, we get Josie, we get so particular. We cross our arms. We get defensive. We're like, oh my god, I can't go there again. I can't do that again. The pain is too big, and we stop living.
Yeah.
And you do yourself the hugest disservice. Like for me, I don't know. I mean, with my partner, it was for 9 years. We were very happy, and then it came to natural end. And then I kind of fell in love with marriage as a concept. And I kind of said to myself, I never want to get married again, especially after planning a destination wedding in Marrakesh with hundreds of people going and canceling it 4 weeks before. Everyone's going, what the hell has happened? I almost became like, I'm never going to get married again. I will fall in love again, but I don't want to do the whole wedding planning. I don't want to do that whole thing. I felt, but then recently, like, for example, yesterday, there's a friend of mine that has a beautiful healing space in near Old Street. It's called Prana Voice. It's a beautiful space. If anyone's interested in wellness or qigong or tai chi or yoga, or if you're a teacher, you want to hire a space, this is one of the most beautiful spaces in London I've ever seen. And because I'm writing my second book now, which is not a yoga book, but it's an autobiography, I have a lot of time in my hands. So I said to my friend, look, 2 days a week, I can help you with your health center. I can help you grow business. I can help promote it. I can help you because I believe in what you're doing. And and I want to help you. And he was like, are you sure? Like, Leo, I can't afford your rate. I'm like, don't worry, we'll come to an arrangement. I want to do this. We'll make it happen. I really believe in your project. And he's like, literally, over the last couple of months, the business has been growing, growing. He's getting all these bookings and things are really changing. And honestly, I think it's on its road to being one of the best wellness spaces in London. It's called Prana Voice. So here I was yesterday looking after some of the bookings, and it was a choir booking. So the big space can be used for anything, for yoga, for Tai Chi, but it can also be used for filming and everything like that. So he had a choir booking with a guy called Johnny that was having a choir. And I remember thinking, oh my God, there's going to be treatments like acupuncture in the rooms. There's going to be someone else doing Feldenkrais. This choir going to be too loud. I was a bit worried because I thought the loud sound of the choir might lead to complaints from the people in the treatment rooms.
A little bit too much prana for that voice. Yeah.
Exactly. I was really concerned about it. Anyway, Johnny turns up on his bicycle, and I'm like, tell me about this choir. What are you doing? Is it like a religious thing? Is it like a choir recital? He says, no, actually, in a week, I'm getting married. I said, wow, that's amazing. He said, yes, so I've got 15 people coming now that are some of the guests from the wedding, and we're preparing some songs that we're going to sing at my wedding. Like, wow. He says, yeah, what's going to happen though is the other guests are not going to know. They're all going to be sitting in the congregation, and at certain points, they can just break out into songs.
Love it. Amazing.
And yesterday, they did their practice, and it was so musical. It was beautiful. They were singing so many beautiful songs, like famous songs, and they were practicing it. They're doing the harmonies and everything.
Ooh.
And I checked in with the treatment rooms, and they said, no, we can hear it, but it sounds very nice. We don't mind. Don't worry about it. It was fine. So nobody was complaining. But yesterday, as much as my heart had hardened about marriages, about weddings, when I saw what Johnny was doing for his wedding, I thought, Leo, maybe you could get married again with the right person. Maybe you don't have to worry about the destination wedding in Marrakesh where you lost tens and thousands of pounds for cancelling 4 weeks before and disappointing so many people. Maybe it's possible. And this is what I'm trying to say for. We need to live in a place of possibility. Don't be like, and I said this to Josie in one of the yoga classes after class. I'm the kind of person, if it's not a yes, it's a no. If you don't feel a vibrational shift where you feel sure about something, you don't have to do it. You can just say, no, I'm not going to do it. right? Nobody says you have to do anything beyond your boundaries or beyond your will or whatever.
Sacred no.
But just have hope, have possibility. And what happened yesterday in Prana Voice was in my hardened heart that was broken up after a 9-year love affair with someone I loved, and I cancelled this wedding and disappointed hundreds of guests and cancelled it, and it was all dramatic and everything was sad, and my heart was broken and her heart was broken and my parents' hearts were broken. All the people that imagined a future of me and her together had to go through the grief of realizing that future was not happening. Yesterday, when I heard all the singing and the joy and the excitement for Johnny's wedding, I was like, it's okay. It might be possible. And now I'm happy because I'm not saying I'm against marriages anymore. I'm not that guy anymore. After yesterday, I'm not that guy that's saying I'm no longer going to get married. I'm that guy that's saying, oh, maybe if I get married, I could have a constellation with someone where we do get married. And it's okay.
100%.
And this is how we heal our heart. You open that box of memories. You let the tears stream down your face. You let your heart race or slow down. And you say to yourself, I got this. I've got this. I can do this. And you believe in yourself. And Beyonce says this. I mean, I've not met Beyonce yet, but she's got my book in her house. Her team requested it. So Beyonce, I don't know when she's having her, morning coffees, looking at the yoga books, getting ideas. And what I love about it is, she might get an idea for an album cover. It might not be yoga. It might just be an inspiration. But she says that you have to believe in yourself when nobody else does. And she also says whenever she has performances, she always feels nervous. And she knows it's good that she feels nervous because it's going to be a good performance because she cares. So we can learn from Beyonce there. We can learn from sitting with our own truth and even feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And giving yourself that permission to say, hey, maybe I had this view about marriages because I had that breakup, which lasted me for many years. But along comes a guy called Johnny in his bike with his 15 people from his wedding that are going to sing a random song. And suddenly my heart can be open again. So like a child, we stay open, stay aware, stay present. You never know. Like you just have no idea what the universe has in store for you.
100%. And isn't that so delightful? Thank God for that.
Yes.
I love all of that. And thank you so much for sharing all of that. And also for, we can't force the outcome, right? So your heart was ready to reach that state of acceptance of possibility. And
yes.
Open, attached to nothing, open to everything, right?
That implies a lot, yeah.
But we don't force that because again, there's a natural period that we go through, right? And again, healing is not linear, far from, right? Many themes will keep coming back, and it's okay. But that thing, like you said, of I really get that, and because actually, just briefly about myself. So a few years ago, me and my then best friend, who was also my boyfriend, I think both him and I thought we would be together forever, and we decided to split up. And that same year, so I moved out of his house and I bought my first flat, and then I couldn't live there because it was a buy-to-let mortgage. I had to move somewhere else, and my cat died. My point is, everything was kind of dissolving, right? And of course, I knew it would be good going forward, but when you're in it, it's it's heavy, it's intense, it's really sad, it's all of that. And in the midst of the whole grieving process, I was getting my keys to my new flat. But what was so interesting was I got those keys and I looked at them, and it had been 20 years. For 20 years, I'd been saving to buy my own flat, right? And I looked at these keys, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, I'm someone who can own a flat by herself in London. And then I was like, oh, what else am I capable of? And all of a sudden, because this is it, right? Like once your brain and heart in coherence, once they are accepting of new possibilities, a new sense of identity, then when we can continue that. Because I was walking down the street, and even though I was, this is another thing in my book, I was like, you are allowed to feel good even when you're grieving. Many things can be true at once, right? So part of my heart was completely breaking and aching and all of it. And then another part of my heart with my new keys were like, I'm someone who can own a flat. I'm walking down the street. I'm like, maybe I'm someone who can have a dog. I literally had that thought, and I've been self-employed my entire life. I've traveled all over the world. My main thing was always my own freedom, right? I knew that was so important to me. So I never wanted, anyway. And then I'm looking, and I've never really thought about kids. And I'm looking at this woman who's like walking with a pram, and I'm like, maybe it's possible for me to be someone who is pregnant and has a child. And I was like, wild.
It's so funny you said that, because for me, what it was like being an author. It was once I did my first book, and as you know, I'm working on my second book.
Yeah.
Working title for my book is called Red Soul, and it's an autobiography. So some of the stories I've shared today, they'll be in the book, but other stories, including childhood trauma and some of the great adventures I've been through in my life. And I think it'll be a very inspirational book for people to read. It's called Red Soul. Hopefully it'll be out next year or the year after. So I'm currently writing that at the moment. But I do agree with it. You sometimes say, am I that person? Can I be that person? Can I be that person that takes risks? Can I be that person that allows myself to fall in love?
Right.
You know what I mean? And also, can I be someone that has an affair with myself?
Right.
Devious and cheeky with myself. Can I self-love? And I might not be in a relationship, but on Valentine's Day, can I be that person that books a table for two and goes for dinner and takes my favorite book or my favorite podcast and listen to it? Can I be that person that's not going to be limited by what I don't have? Mum didn't have money. She could only buy burgers and she could only buy value chips, and she made burger curry. And I tell you what, nowadays as adults, sometimes we still say, Mum, can you make us burger curry? Have other things now, but it just has nostalgia to it, because my mum, she cooks with love. And one thing I always say is, even if you don't have much, do it with love. You know, you might be there and you might be starting a new career, and you might only have a few clients, but with those clients, can you do it with love? You might be on dates and on speed dating, or you might be going through apps and meeting people. But even the people you meet, even if you're not fully connecting, can you still do it with love? You might not have much money, but you go to the shop and you buy whatever ingredients you have. Can you still cook that food with love? Do it with love. Do it with love, and you'll always be fine. You'll always be fine. Do you know, I do coaching as well. So I do my yoga, but because of my psychology background, I do executive coaching and something along those lines for people. And I still have some clients I've had for years now. They're like, I know you're this big shot best-selling author now, and you're a yoga guru, but can you still do my coaching? I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll do my coaching for you. And one of the things I really, really believe is that when you do things, you have to do it with love.
Mm.
And if love is not present, you've got to be like, what the hell am I doing here?
100%, Leo. And it's also that thing of like, I mean, first of all, our life is made out of everyday moments.
Yes.
It's that simple, like it really is. And so if and I'm not saying, I've been fortunate, so have you, to find things that you love and you can also make a living from and all of that, right? And you've been creative, as have I. But even if what you do for a living is not really where you're like, well, that's my major love, but can we still find an aspect of that is lovable? So maybe is it bringing in a steady income that therefore it can provide a gorgeous, beautiful home, for like a haven for yourself and loved ones, but whatever it is, right? Because, A, our life is made out of everyday moments, but also B, if you find something, and ideally a few things that you are in love with your life, you will do it when it's raining, when it's sunny, when there's a global pandemic, when you lose everything, when you win everything, when you are in love, when you are going through the greatest heartache of your life, you'll still do it.
Exactly. And it's funny you say that, because I used to have a Russian billionaire client. I still my client, but I see him once in a while. And he made himself a lot of money just from scratch. So he was very poor, like forget burger curry and chips. He sometimes had days without food. So we're talking about the old Soviet Union, and he was very struggling, and he became a very successful billionaire. But he is very funny about money. Like, he's literally like, what's that director doing? Is he taking money? This person, they're taking money. He literally go out for dinner with his mum, and he'd expect his mum to pay for half the meal. And I said to him, you might be wealthy with money, but your heart is poor. Your heart is poor because you're not sharing. You're literally watching everything, and you're worrying about everything, and you're worrying about money. And yes, you've amassed a lot of wealth, but you're still that poor kid because you're worried there's not enough money. You could pay for your mum's dinner. You could do stuff like what I do with the orphanage in Himalayas. I go and I help with the orphanage. I take a task force of people every a couple of years. We go to this orphanage and we teach the kids, we look after them, we play with them, and we also do some trekking in the Himalayas. I teach the yoga, but for free. I don't charge for it. It's not like a yoga retreat. It's like a volunteer project. So you get your own tickets, you get your own accommodation, your own food. But I provide the yoga, but you come and you help and look after the children. That's all I want you to do. So I've taken doctors, fashion designers, teachers. I've taken all these people that are clients to this orphanage many times. And what for me is the most joyful feeling is when you do something and your heart feels rich.
Mm.
It's not like the money. It's not like, have I got this money? Is my shares going up? I paid this for dinner and he's not paid that for dinner. Or it's not none of that. It's like, how rich is your heart? How wealthy is your heart? Are you a billionaire in your heart? Like, can you love so unstoppably that you could literally have a harem of husbands and wives and be in a polyamorous relationship and have enough love to go around?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's not for most people. It's not for me anyway. But what I'm trying to say is that, are you rich in your heart?
100%. It's that thing of, are you scared? Because again, it's a scarcity mindset, right? So scarcity mindset it lives in the body, right? It's a somatic experience. So it's that same thing. Are you holding on to your love because you're scared you're going to run out, right? Are you holding on to your money because you're scared someone is going to steal it? Whatever it is, it's that thing of, and whatever it is we hold on to, not only do we perhaps potentially keep fear out, but we also stop ourselves from actually feeling the richness of our life experience, feeling the love, letting love in, letting love meet us, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Do you know, it's funny you say that. You always also, I think that it's important to act as if. So like I did with photography, look, I'm not the best, I'm not Rankin, but Rankin is my friend.
And also, can I just share, because I have just looked at your beautiful book yesterday and the photos are incredibly beautiful. And by the way, I was a model for 14 years, so I do know a little bit about what I'm saying. Yeah. There we go.
I surround myself with people that I said that are better than me, that can teach me, that can like Jimmy Nelson, who's one of the most respected anthropologist photographers. He's literally on my book. He's the one that's helped me with it, and he shaped it. He's given a great review for it. Like, this guy I respect so much. On the global stage, he does the most beautiful anthropological photographs. Carol Beckwith and Angela Fisher, they do the most beautiful photography of ancient African tribes. They're my best friends, and literally they helped me with my book so much. They helped me get the deal with the publisher because they believed in me. They're like, hey, there's this guy who does yoga, you should do a book with him. And they were like, okay, then everything started to happen.
Amazing.
But it's like, the way I look at it is, you have to have an open heart. So if things break you down, strike you down, whatever, you'd be like, okay, these are battle wounds, but let me get back out there. Let me get, you know what I mean? And not giving up on yourself. Back to what I said about what Beyonce said, just never give up on yourself.
Oh, 100%. And it's also, it's just that thing of like, just get really good at failing. Like, get really good. And like, if the worst thing in the world for you is a no, or a rejection, or someone being ridiculing you, I don't know how you say it in English, but that thing, like putting you down, yeah, but you say it's that thing of like, what if I fall? Yes, but what if you fly? And if you do not ask, then it's 100% certain it won't happen, right? So it's that thing of like I love how you said, and thank you, honestly, Leo, thank you so much for sharing your life and yourself and your heart so extremely honestly.
Thank you.
Because, but this is so important, because that's why I do these podcasts in the first place, right? So yes, I have amazing people on, but it's not just the, ABC, look at me. It's people like yourself that are like, fuck, I have all these things going on. And it's not like it was easy for me to just ask the first and the right person all of it, but I did it anyway. And also you were fully open, because that's the same thing, right? So open to everything, attached to nothing. You will ask a question, you will ask for help. But if it doesn't happen, it's okay. There will be another way, right? So it's that thing of similar to, I have, so again, I was a dancer, and people would, I remember very early on when I came to London, I became friends with people that were a lot older than me, which was such a privilege. Also made sense because, I was 16. I was, of course, drawn to people that felt a little bit more stable in certain ways. But sometimes, I guess they were drawn to me because I had so much enthusiasm and so much excitement. But I remember I once had this woman with me, and she was crying her heart out. And she was like, JC, all I wanted to do in my life was dance and be a singer. She was in her mid-30s, and I was like, well, why don't you dance and sing? Like, I'm not even talking about but without the pressure of it having to be your full-time career and you having to be on Broadway. And like, if that happens, great. But do what you do because you can't not do it. Like, start dancing around in your house at home. That's dancing. Do you know what I mean? Like, start singing. Woo, right? Like, I know you produce music as well. You sing. Like, do all these things out of love. Like, don't do it with an agenda. Don't do it with like, oh, I must do X, Y, Z, and then everything is going to be great. Like, life happens here and now. Yeah. So
It does. And both you and I know this, and we've discussed this in the past, but time is not linear. Time is happening now and in the present moment. And that's why I like some of the cultures, the older cultures, like Egyptian culture, so on, they live through time. They don't really believe in past, present, future. It's like you're in the eternal present of now. And so if you are someone you might be open-minded, and you might be like so like literally it's going so well.
We're going so high that all I see is the sky.
But I've completely lost my track of thought. What was I just saying?
You're talking about the Egyptians and how time isn't linear.
Yes, you live in the eternal moment of now. So I don't know, people have different beliefs, but for example, if you were open to the concept of reincarnation, you're not just living now, you're living all your past lives and also all your future lives. So like, if you, I write this in my book as well, and I think the important thing to remember about my book is it's me. I've literally given birth to something that is like and you said it, and it was such a compliment. Thank you, Josie. You called it a legacy. So it's a book that has a legacy. But I say in my book, in the context of forever, you have all the time in the world. So if you are a spiritual being having a human experience, or a human being having a spiritual experience, like Dr. Wayne Dyer said, who's another amazing author. Everyone should read Dr. Wayne Dyer. He's late now, but he's one of the best spiritual authors I've ever come across. And even if you go on YouTube and you look for his 101 affirmations, you'll love it. It'll be very transformative. If you're going through a tough time, or you're uncertain or difficult, the 101 affirmations will really help you spiritually be back on track. And it's available for free on YouTube. Just search 101 affirmations by Dr. Wayne Dyer. Anyway, he says, are you a human being having a spiritual experience, or you have a spiritual being having a human experience? And my belief is you're a spiritual being having a human experience. So you've incarnated now. I've incarnated into this, half Indian, quarter French, quarter Malaysian version of George Clooney. I believe, for my confidence, it might not be true. You might look at it and be like, okay, I can't see the George Clooney thing. Maybe I could.
Come on, you're super charming, and
Yeah, and maybe in the 20s I could do it. I can't do it anyway. But anyway, George Clooney. I've incarnated in this time to be Leo Lourdes, and maybe in my past I've been a woman. Maybe in my past I've been a man. Maybe in my past I've been a dog or a cat or a flower or a pebble. But this is not a new soul. And if you're truthful to yourself and you go deep, you realize, especially when you're familiar with things, you go through life, you're like, I recognize this, or I feel like I've learned this somewhere before, or I've been to this place, but I can't, I don't know why, but I resonate with it on a deep level. If you come from that viewpoint, you are a human being that maybe has been around before, has been born and has died and has come back and will continue to do so. and you have the absolute ability to use all of that, not just your current life, but potentially your past lives,
Mm.
your other existences. You know, if you're not patient, you could be like, hey, you know, in incarnation before I was a pebble. I'm patient then. So let me channel my pebbleness to be like a pebble so I can make sure I get through this challenge. You know?
I love this so much, Leo, and it's so sweet because so my ex-boyfriend he used to, because he was very good at handling conflict. He would just be like very calm,
Yeah.
and then we would have this joke that he would always be like, "Be the pebble." So when you were saying it now, you were like, "I'll channel my inner pebble." I was like, I did 6 years of inner channeling the pebble. I am the pebble.
Yeah. Oh, here you go. There's the pebble. You know, it's like the pebble. But it's yeah, just to entertain, and I don't really want to like step on people's beliefs. Some people might be like, no, I don't. I'm atheist, or but so what? Even if you're atheist, you can still believe in the beauty of nature. You can still believe in the seasons of nature. You can still believe in life and death. You might not know what happens before and after, but at least you're being honest, right? At least you're saying, hey, I don't know.
100%. And also just the miracle of the physicality, right? Like, so think about it. We spend 9 months, right? 9 months inside in creation, right? And
Yes.
whilst we're in there, we're not lying there going, hey, I need to talk to my AI, chat GPT, making sure I get the perfect 5-finger hand, right? It just happens, right? We allow whatever it is. We don't even allow it. We're like, it's happening. We're in the making.
And you know what the interesting thing is, Josie? It's like probably the most comfortable hotel in the world. To go back to that experience, because you're literally in a hotel where you
Oh,
have 4 hour room service. Literally is provided. You have no gravity. You're literally living in this. We're almost like a dolphin. We're almost like a fish living in that embryonic environment with water, no oxygen. We're living like that for 9 months. We're
right.
almost like a fish, or like a dolphin or a whale, and we come into this world with hard edges and oxygen and falling and crying and
Yeah.
blood, wounds and
But
hardship. You know, half of us would love to have that experience again. If someone invents that, like, please, I'm in. I think Josie's in as well. If you could take me into an experience where I could recreate being in the room, and sometimes I've had that. I've had that feeling in flotation tanks. You know, you can go in these flotation tanks, and it's got lots of salt, and you lie on it, and they cover all the sensories away. And I've had a couple of experiences like in flotation tanks where I've come close to experiencing what it was like in wombs. I know some therapists, they do rebirthing. I know there's different fields
I
where
think
they do that.
there's two things here that's really interesting. So first of all, I think we would need to get the heartbeat of your mother, and then
Yeah.
the heartbeat in there, you know, in earphones, like just to really make it as authentic as possible, because it's that heartbeat, right? It's her heart rhythm, and it's also how, you know, that informs your nervous system, and how that, I mean, obviously carries through your genetics, through your life, you know, your mom's nervous system, her heartbeat, right? All of that. And also that her heartbeat, you're not hearing it through your ears, you're feeling it. It's a vibration, right? It's a movement, it's a wave. So you're feeling her heartbeat in you. I mean, it's wild. So there's that. And then there's the second thing. I know you want to say something, but just a second. So you and I could literally talk for fucking million of days and miles, and probably happened several lifetimes, and I love it. But the second thing, right, which just blows my mind. So think about it. When we were in there, you know, and this again depends on your beliefs, and I'm not going to say, you know, again, similar to you, I'm so for everything and nothing all in one. And so, you know, but when we're in there, if from a physical perspective, that is all we know, right? It's literally all we know. It's our entire cosmos, right? It's how we experience life at that moment in time. Then we arrive to this planet, and now we have another knowing. And again, once you know something, you can't unknow it. Once you've seen something, you can't unsee it, right? Once you've gone into that state, literally. So then what's so exciting is, so then, you know, of course, some of us may have, you know, strong ideas or even memories of previous lifetimes, or also what dying feels like, right? Or what happens in the space in between death and then the next rebirth if you're into reincarnation, like I am. So many people have different experiences, but it's just that thing of, because sitting here right now, right here, I'm not fully 100% sure. Like, so then the dying process, how does that feel? And what do we enter then, right? Because we can sit here and go, well, when we were in the room, because again, from the psychological perspective, the brain always loves what it knows, right? So we're like, well, womb was good. Like you said, food on tap, tick. Love on tap, tick. Safety, flowy things, yummy. All needs supplied at any time, right? But then we come out here and like, yes, of course, all the other things, and we also have a thinking brain now, and separation, all of that. But also, it's still all we know here, right? So then if we go to the next, wherever that next is, could be a different planet, could be the process of dying, could be afterlife, could be in between lives. There's so much unknown, right? But we could be looking back and going, but well, when I was on Earth, right? When I was on Earth, because something that I'm fascinated with people that have had near-death experiences, and I've read several books by people that was hypnotized, all of that. But what people talk a lot about is this thing that we come to Earth, we may choose to come to Earth, and again, there's different beliefs, but actually people miss feeling. They miss the physicality of being a human being with a human heart, the tangibility of all of the emotions, right? Which is so funny because it's such a contradiction, because we're here as human beings on life now. We're like, well, the emotions are intense at times, right? And then on the other side, apparently, sometimes what people are missing is the ability to feel the highs, the lows, like all of it, like the layeredness of the human being experience. Anyway, just wanted to add that in on a little philosophical note.
No, that's beautiful, and I really relate to that, because I think it doesn't really matter if people believe in reincarnation or not. It's back to that thing of whether you believe in process, whether
Right.
nature has a cycle.
That's it.
As we come from, we come into flesh and bones, and eventually we become ashes, and we get cycled, and we literally have stardust in us because of the way the whole cosmos works. So even if you're someone that's atheist, or you're unsure, or you're agnostic, so you're saying it's so big I don't understand it, it doesn't matter. I think have some humility and always look at nature with a big N. Like nature is like our grandparents. It knows everything. Okay. And when you spoke, it made me think about two things in particular. One is technically the hardest, most traumatic experience in our life we've already been through.
Right.
We went from the womb to
the
harmonious space of food on tap, 24-hour room service, everything provided, love, everything. And also we're in this weird environment, like a fish or like a whale or a dolphin. But at the same time, we're hearing like the hollow sounds of the outside world. There's a theory that psychologists have why babies, when mothers hold babies, they try to stop the baby crying, but they pass the baby to the father, and the father talks to the baby, and the baby stops crying. And there's a theory which is when the mother talks to the baby when she's pregnant, because of all the amniotic fluid, the mother's voice sounds like a male voice because of the sound. By the time the sound travels, it sounds deeper. So when the baby's crying and the mom is saying, "Oh, please, oh baby, please, please, please," and it passes it to Dan, Daddy's like, "Okay, are you okay?" And the baby's like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine," because of the deep voice. So these two things, you've got the fact we're curious about this outer world that we're hearing through the womb amniotic fluid, but at the same time, we go from that beautiful environment, which is controlled conditions, to a tight birth canal. Into some doctors slapping our bottoms so we start breathing, and then someone cutting the umbilical cord. Hang on, what are you doing? For 9 months, I've had that cord. Everything's been provided. What are you doing? Stop, stop, stop. And then it's like, and then we get that first breath. Our lungs know what to do, and we might cry, we might not cry. And then we also know how to grab the finger of the doctor. You feel like finger of a baby's grip. It's so strong because it's saying, don't let go. I need you. Biologically, I need you. I can't survive on my own. The grip is so strong. For a little baby, that grip is super strong. And then it also knows to go for the mother's breast. And also, it's a funny thing as a guy, when you carry a baby, sometimes they try to go for your nipple because they're so used to searching for the nipple. So on one hand, it's nurture, and one hand, it's nature. And from the day you're born, that nature nurture starts to kick in, and you start taking risks. You start living every day. You go through the tears. You go through, and we think that in life, all you have to do is say yes. Maybe a lot of us are yes people. We say yes to our boss. If your boyfriend or girlfriend says, "Oh, tonight should we have like Moroccan food?" You're like, "Yeah," but really you want Chinese food. But you just say yes because you want to keep things sweet. So we say yes, and I think there's something beautiful about saying yes to the universe. But where you got your power, your first power, was not with yes, but was with no. That's when you first stated your first boundary. So you were getting this white stuff called milk from your mother's breast, and everything was fine. And along came broccoli on this fork. You're like, what the hell is that? Like, you just want the white stuff. You just want the milk. Frankly, most men would be happy with breast milk for the rest of their lives. They behave right, attached to their mothers forever, like not really letting go. But the truth is, we're kids. We're getting this breast milk, and everything was provided, and everything was great. And then along comes broccoli and ruins everything.
Right.
You know what you do? You see that broccoli, and you kind of go, no. And at that point, you literally are standing up to the giant who has been feeding you, cleaning your poo, doing everything for you, and you little thing, you little human being, you baby chikupuku, you get the confidence to stand up to the giant and say no to broccoli because you want your milk. So when we get our power, this is the power of no. Yes, we say yes, but sometimes you've got to say no. I'm not that. Right? So yes, we say yes, but also no, you know. And the other day we were talking about that after class, Josie, if you recall, when I was saying the difference between boundaries and thresholds. And I write about this in Red Soul. I write about this as one of the key learnings because for me it's such an important thing. So when you have a boundary is when you set a parameter where you say, no, that's not okay. No, please don't touch my body without my permission. Sorry. Please don't do that. I might be in Italy and you might think it's kind of cool to pinch my bum, but I'm actually a feminist and I'd rather pinch your bum. So it's like you got to know what the no's are. You got to know what your boundaries are, and these are usually based on values and principles. And we should all have boundaries. So some of us today we should get a piece of paper and just say, what are my boundaries? Let me really get this down. What are my no's? What are my non-negotiables?
100%.
Yeah, but then alternately, you also have thresholds. So you have these parameters where life invites you to go a bit further. You might have a bit of fear around it. It might be taking a risk with an investor in a business. You have a hunch. You don't know what it is. This person, might not have the credentials, but you believe in them and you take a risk and you're like, I'm going to take a risk on this person because I believe and they are the next, Elon Musk or whatever, right? You just don't know. Take a risk and you feel a feeling, you feel a hunch. So thresholds are where we have a feeling, but we actually are invited karmically to go into it because we can grow, we can evolve, we can try that. So it might be that you might be a woman and you've never been kissed by a woman, but you might be a bit curious. Okay, you might have a boundary. You might be like, actually, I don't want to do that because it's not what I'm doing for religious reasons, whatever reasons. And if that's what you feel, then don't worry about it. That's okay. You've made a decision. You can rest with it. You can have a happy life. Don't worry. But you might be that woman that's like, actually, I'm going to take a risk and kiss a woman. And you might have the most beautiful moment where you kiss a woman because that's a threshold. Does that make sense? It's something in you that's curious. You try it and you might try it and be like, no, it's not for me. Or it might be the beginning of a beautiful adventure where you experience something. And guess what? To love someone of the same gender, you're going against society, technically. So imagine how powerful that love is, that you're willing to hold someone. This is why when I walk through London, I see two gay guys holding hands. I see two women holding hands. I can't stop myself. I have to say something. I even stop and say, I'm so wonderful. You're holding hands. It makes me really happy. Or if I don't get a chance to talk to them because they're in the conversation, I just give them the biggest smile saying, I love that you're holding hands because you're going against society's norm.
100%.
Society might say, this is not normal, but you're saying, this is my love. And I'm willing to love beyond gender, beyond sex. And I'm willing to go against what society believes is right in order to feel love. And this comes back full circle, Josie, to what we're talking about. Do it with love.
100%. 100%. And actually, a little add on to that, which I really love. So, this whole thing about when we say no to something, what we're really doing is actually creating the space to say yes to the aligned choice, the aligned opportunity coming up. And I think for many of us yes sayers in the world, I've definitely done a lot of yes saying in my life, which also has, great opportunities, all of that. But in my head, changing it to understanding that when I'm saying no to something, I'm really creating the space. I'm really saying yes to what's truly in my heart.
Yes.
That's a really nice way to work with it. I think, especially for people that might, where saying no might be a really big thing and a really new thing. And maybe you're really good at saying no, setting your non-negotiables in certain areas of your life. But then there are other areas where we just all over the place and yes to everything, right?
Exactly. And Josie, there's a great theorist called Levi Strauss, and he's not actually a theorist. It's not the jeans company. They named it after him.
Mm.
He called them binary opposites. He says you can't have hot without cold.
Yes.
Up without down. You can't have black without white. And actually what you have in your life is you have this enormous opportunity to explore the spectrum of the human experience. Mm-hmm. Your question is simply, how do I choose? Like literally, how do I choose? Do I choose this? Do I choose that? Okay, I'm saying no to this. So what does this mean? I'm saying yes to that. So then I'm going to try that. So what we have is this enormous platter called life with infinite variables of what you can choose. Mm-hmm. And guess what? The sanctity, the heritage, the privilege, that's the real word, that you get to choose. And always make new choices. Don't act as if choices already exist. Sometimes you have to carve out your own choice. Mm-hmm. You look at some of the most successful companies, like, people have taken risks and opened new markets that never existed before.
100%. And look at your own life, right? And look at your mom and look at your dad. Like your dad had already created an amazing career and yet was like, hang on a second, this is not going to go on forever. And he could have thought, okay, well, maybe the next natural choices, next best step will be I'll become a coach. I'll teach kids how to become, professional football players, right? But actually he took a massive chance, also a risk, relocated your entire family into a one bedroom after having lived different lifestyle and also he was in his early 30s, mid 30s to go, I'm not going to study to become, a lawyer, right? And this is such an intense training already. And at that time and age, again, and he was from a different country, like it took a massive risk. Like we don't have to look, all I'm saying is we don't have to look very far for examples of take a risk. And if you're willing, take a risk, but only take risk on things that you actually really, you are in love with the idea, you're in love with the dream of it, because otherwise your risk won't persist. Like you won't be persistent with the pursuit of the dream.
Yes, yeah. Totally. I totally agree with you. And I think also it shows you that we all have heroes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Consciousness, highest consciousness, whatever we call that. We label it God, we label it Buddha, whatever. Sends us nothing but angels. Literally every day you have signs. Every day something is saying to you, keep going, keep trying, keep believing. And we all have we all have traumas. Like for example, with myself, there's something called ACE score, which means adverse childhood experiences. And the psychologists, when they work with children that are abused or whatever, they give you a score out of 10. I have a score of 9 out of 10. So technically, I shouldn't be here. I should have given up. I shouldn't have that. But I'm doing what I'm doing. I go through my traumas. I live my life. I celebrate my life, and I share it. I don't sit there hiding. I'm writing a book about it. So whatever you've been through, and remember, there's no rank in pain. Pain is pain. Josie might stub her foot, and that's as bad as someone having a breakup with a boyfriend. She might deal with it the same way. No one here to assess whose pain is bigger than my pain. Is my trauma bigger than your trauma? Oh, my trauma is so big. Oh, your trauma is so small. No, trauma is trauma. Pain is pain. The brain still experiences it as a situation, a problem. And there's huge impact on how it can have an impact on your health and your psychology and all kinds of things. So we're not joking here. You know, if you have a trauma or pain, you can't ignore it. You don't want to ignore it because it becomes an illness or it becomes a problem. You want to face it and go and see a therapist or talk to a friend or find a way to process the trauma. But the main point to remember is it's all learning. Whatever you go through, it's learning, whether it's difficulty, whether it's trauma, whether it's difficulty, pain, everything is teaching you a lesson.
Exactly.
But you must never give up on yourself. That's my ultimate message. Never give up on yourself. Like even if everyone else says no, they don't believe in you, or opportunities doesn't happen for you, or things are really difficult, you must promise yourself that you're going to be the last person that stops believing in yourself. And you've got many examples of this. And you know, you, Josie and me are sharing some great examples for you today. But some of you may have read books, and there's so many autobiographies of really interesting people out there that followed their dreams and even through hardship have done things. One of the people that I have a wonderful connection with, and it goes back to doing yoga in the Himalayas, is Oprah Winfrey. And Oprah publicly talks about her sexual abuse. She talks about the problems she's been through, and she's still a very, very successful person. And the great thing about Oprah is who she is on TV is who she really is. And I've met a lot of successful people. They have a two-face, you know, they present themselves one way publicly, but when you meet them privately, they have their ego, they have the entourage. But Oprah, okay, she has a bodyguard sitting close by, but when you're with her, she's fully present. When she hugs you, she massages your shoulder. I tricked myself into believing that Oprah gave me superpower because when she was hugging me, she'd always massage my shoulders, and I'd be like, "Oh my god, I feel this energy. I can't describe it." But you know, people like her, and she's not the only example. Some of the examples are your school teachers. Some of the examples are your father, your mother, your sister, your brother. It's the old lady that's always angry across the road. But if you took 5 minutes to speak to her, you might learn about her life and realize what she's been through. And she might become your hero. You're surrounded by heroes. So don't live isolated. Don't be like, I'm living in a world where I have no examples. Find the people. Always find people better than you. And I don't mean that to dismiss people that are not better or better, but always don't shy away from brilliance. Does that make sense? So like with my photography, I spent months with the best photographers, like, you know, with the psychologists that I've worked with, that I've hired in my first company. I used to have like lengthy coffee conversations with them about the mind, about principles of the mind, about ideas about psychology. And some of those ideas formed my adult life. So who you share your energy with is so important, and never shy away from meeting people. Does that make sense? Don't think there's some kind of benefit in being so humble that you don't ask a question.
100%.
You might be a journalist and you might be reporting for a particular newspaper. Or don't be afraid to ask Donald Trump that question that everyone has in their mind, but everyone's afraid to ask that question. Ask Donald Trump that question. Hold authority to account. Does that make sense? Don't be afraid. Don't shy away. Don't think there's some kind of brilliant reason of shying away, of keeping quiet. You know, there's people through the Second World War that risked their lives hiding Jewish people and feeding them. They hid them in their basements. They put their lives at risk because they were like, that guy with the dodgy moustache from Germany is doing some bad things, and they knew in their heart it was wrong. And so they had Jewish people living in their own homes in the basement, feeding them quietly for years because they knew it was wrong. In their heart, they knew it was wrong.
100%.
So there's no prize for shying away from life.
Oh, I love
Swimming
that.
current. And some of you might swim, some of you might float, some of you might paddle, some of you might hang on to the edges with your floats and everything. But get in the water. Get in the goddamn water.
God, I love that. I could speak to you all day, but I'm sitting here with goosebumps. I think that last metaphor is just so profound. Get in the bloody water. Fuck fear and leap into life.
Trust life. Choose life. Choose life. Josie, it's such a pleasure. And you know what? I really hope the people that are listening to this have had some transformations themselves. Maybe, you know, again, one of the things I wanted to share is like being, I think, quite a relatively still a young person. I still technically, some people start businesses at this age, but I started at 21. So I have 20 plus years experience of being in business. And one of the things I've had the ability to do is work with some of the best people in their field, leading people in music, in fashion, in business, some of the best, like Blackstone, for example, are one of the top investment companies, and I'm their yoga master, and they're amazing. And I love the way they invest and the integrity and how they do things. But one of the things I've learned about all the most successful people I've worked with is not that they had difficult lives or difficult challenges or who took the biggest risk or whatever. The thing I've learned about these people that are the highest in their fields is the following. They're not afraid to have difficult conversations. Afraid to have different conversations. And that might be difficult conversation with investors, might be difficult conversations with their family, might be difficult conversations with their customers. They're not, or their staff. They're not afraid to have difficult conversations. And that's what we have to be able to do. We have to be able to have difficult conversations with our own intrapersonal dialogue with ourselves. We have to not be afraid to have difficult conversations with other people, but you must have those conversations and you must make those moves, because if you're not in the game, then you will never know if you'll win or lose.
Good. I absolutely love that. 100%. Don't shy away from the fear of conflict.
Yes.
And also because the thing is, like, so oh my God, here we go again. Last little thing. Last little thing. I remember when me and my now partner, when we first started going out, we used to argue a lot, and I reached the conclusion. I remember turning around to Carl and I told him, I shared with him, I was like, actually, it doesn't really matter how many conflicts we go through. What matters is what happens on the other side. Like, through that conflict, do we feel even closer, even more connected, even more, in love? Or do all these conflicts actually pull us apart? But through all of these conflicts, I was learning about me, he was learning about himself, and then we were learning about each other. And by continuing to choose each other, even through these conflicts, like just that thing of in life, doesn't matter how many times you have an argument or a disagreement with someone, or you have those difficult conversations, what happens is what comes out of it, what comes out on the other side, right? So, yeah.
Definitely. And I thank you for inviting this opportunity for us to connect and for your love, for all the podcasts you've done. I give all my blessings and all my love, and all the people that are listening. I hope your heart feels bigger. I hope your mind feels larger. I hope your consciousness has risen in some way, and that you feel curious. You feel curious, right? Like I was as a child, to smell that big flower.
Yes.
Maybe you feel a bit audacious, mischievous, and you're going to steal that magazine from the top shelf. Or maybe like me, you're going to take a risk and fall in love and then lose it and still fall in love again. So whatever it is, I hope it's done in blessings. I hope consciousness protects you. And I wish you the most audacious and extraordinary life. That's my wish for you. And I hope to see you soon.
Oh my God, Leo Lourdes, it's been amazing to have you here. Thank you so much. Kindly send me all the links to where people can find your books. I know I have some of them, but send them to me and then I will put them in the show notes. Please feel free to tell listeners now as well, where can they find your amazing book of yoga?
You can go to Waterstones, you can go to Amazon, if you're in the US, Barnes & Noble, Target. You can get my book in Dubai, you can get my book in Mexico, you can get it in Canada, you can get it anywhere. So it's available. And I think Josie's going to bring the book now.
I am. What's really cute? I called up my mom today and I was like, sorry. And she was like, oh, is that, you're doing that podcast about, the coffee table book. I was like, no, Mom, it's more the size of a temple. It's huge. It's heavy, but it's so good. So here's the experience.
5 kg.
I love it.
So if you don't like yoga, you could just buy the book and then lift it up and down and work your biceps. Or like someone, throw the book at them. Whatever. Use the book any way you wish.
On that happy note.
Such a beautiful energy. And, from the moment I came to your class, and I'm sure your clients feel this and your listeners feel this. You have a beautiful open heart. You have an enormous heart, and that really comes across in your being and the way you are with people. And I you know it's wonderful because with the book I did a lot of podcasts, and because of being a psychologist and a motivational speaker, I do speeches all around. And when I was 23, I did one with 12,000 people. Like it was big. And what I love about you is the intimacy and the purity and the truthfulness in how you handle things. You really care, and that comes across. And so, sometimes I talk to magazines and newspapers and the media, and it's like they're going through their questions, and by the time you've done it, you're like, oh my god, like it feels like Groundhog Day a bit, especially with the promotion around my book. I found it quite tiring eventually because I was just sharing the same things. Um, but with this, I feel like we've explored things I've never explored before. I think it's fresh, it's fun, and I thank you so much for this opportunity.
You're so welcome, Leo. And honestly, the world is a better place with you in it. So
You
thank you for being a co-creator and thank you for continuing to create. I think this was something that really stood out to me today amongst everything else that we covered and journeyed through and traveled through together. This thing of how you were like, I'm here to create. We all are as human beings, right? Like we're all creative, whether you're into arts or not. Like this conversation was a creation, a co-creation. Okay, we were going to talk about your book and you, but other than that, we came up and down, in and around, right? Past, present, future, all of it. We are all creators, and I think this is something that you really empowered and inspired today. But also, that's just your natural thing. You really empower and inspire everyone to stay curious and continue to create in a way that feels great. Yay!
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Stay on the line just for a second, but to listeners out there, thank you so much.